Howdy, and welcome to another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I'm your host, Daniel Dolphin. Our guest today is Scott Purdum of Advantage Horsemanship. I messed up the pronunciation on that one. Scott has popped across my newsfeed a lot lately with his silent and simple videos that get to the point, and I figure if anybody needs to learn about silent and simple, it's me. So I figured I'd better talk with Scott. So Scott, how are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it. And we were talking before this about the silent videos and how it's always funny how those videos have really literally every time I post them, they hit 500 to a million, 500,000 to a million views, and none of which the ones that I'm talking ever does that well. So I'm starting to wonder if it's my voice.
I
So
think it
yeah.
is. I think clearly, yeah. There's
Okay.
some timbre in there that is just like a dog whistle to some people. I don't know. We'll explore it a little bit
I
later.
think
I
okay.
should probably say now that he did sign a contract, and I had to heavily edit his voice to make him sound like a normal man in this
Yep.
content. But really,
Make me sound sexy. That's
clown on helium is kind of what I'm hearing. Y'all are getting to
Mm,
hear him as a normal person. So,
fair enough.
all right. Well, Scott, we start everybody off with our lightning round questions. These are for points and prizes, so you want to be on your A game here. All right.
Ooh, what do I win?
You have to wait until the end to find out.
Shit.
That's a surprise. So, if you were a Jedi, what percent chance is there that you would misuse the Force?
100%. 100%. Yep. No, it would I would use it for personal gain. No, I maybe not that part. But yeah, I mean having all of that power, what is that having all that power yields, having to have all that responsibility. I think, in my younger years, I would totally misuse it. But, nowadays, no, because I would wisen up. So, when younger and stupid, I would misuse it 100%.
There'd never be another horse buck again. Like I'd have this silent hand just
No,
holding them down. Right? That'd be
yeah, no,
great.
you would just literally but you would charge for it, right? You're like, you know
Yeah,
what? I'm going to fix your problems. I'm going to do it in like today's world in 10 seconds or less, but it's, $1,000.
yeah. Jump higher, run faster, go slower. What we can, any part of it we can do. Yeah.
Yep. All right. I like that one. That's a good one.
Morning or evening? What's your preferred time of day?
My body says evening, but my mind says morning. Meaning I am way more on it in the morning. I want to get up in the morning, but when I force myself. So I use the word want because I force myself to get up early in the morning. But my body, it has a few other choice words in the moment of.
Yeah.
So
Most of us that have been riding horses for a few decades would not pass a vet check anymore, and we know that every
oh
morning when we
God.
wake up, right?
Yeah, I stopped passing a vet check long ago. I may not look that old or actually be that old, but I stopped passing one a long time ago.
How long do you dunk a cookie in milk?
I'll have a very specific way. And I'm assuming like the main there's a lot of different cookies. Can I ask like what specific cookie? Because I have a specific cookie. It's the only one I really
Give that to me. Yeah, I would
an
generally go
Oreo.
Oreo, but
Yep.
okay.
So Oreo, here's the deal. I've been wanting to explain this to the masses, and this is my first opportunity to do it. Love that you asked the question. So when you dunk an Oreo, it's important first off, like I don't personally like any crunchy parts. Some people do. That's okay. You can eat it your way. I don't like any crunchy parts. I want it to evenly be soft throughout the entire thing. So you take a fork, you put it in the glass, and when you dunk the Oreo, you don't. Some people stick the fork in the Oreo. That's terrible. Don't do it that way. You put the Oreo in halfway, hold it for about 5 seconds, and slowly let it drop so it sinks. If you drop the Oreo too quickly, it floats on the top. You never get it thoroughly soft. So you let it sink. Now here's the part that makes sense, or that helps it, is you wait till the bubbles stop coming up. And when the bubbles stop coming up, you can then take the cookie out and eat the cookie. And if you like to do, more for your money, do two at a time. And they sit on the fork perfectly. And yeah, it's you. Here's the other thing too, though. You have to have a big enough mouth to eat the whole damn thing at once. You can't, like, don't bite into it. You eat the whole thing at once. And after explaining this to the masses, I'm starting to wonder whether I should have.
No, I think the right answer is the same way you teach a politician to swim. You hold it under till the bubbles stop coming to the top. I think that's the exact way. So perfect. I
All
love
right.
the amount of detail that you took there. You're getting some bonus points on that one. I'm going to tell you right now.
All right. All right. Good. I need those bonus points for some of the other answers.
On a scale of 31 to 37, how thankful are you that people do not spontaneously express their emotions through song and dance?
So, it's funny. We just had this conversation, not from a number scale, so specific to that one, is I can't do movies very well that break into song. Like as soon as I find out that it's a musical, especially if I'm like surprised by it, like you're watching it, you don't realize it's going to be. I literally say it. I mean, it's just a moment of, oh shit. And depending upon who I'm with, like I know I either get to turn it off or um, I'll have to watch it all the way through, like, with my wife or whomever. Obviously, then I have to watch it all the way through. But here's the caveat to that. If I were to go to a theater that's a musical, I'm okay with that. And I can appreciate that and appreciate the people who are singing and what it takes in order to do that. But for whatever reason on a movie, I'm 30, I think, what'd you say, 37, 39 to 30?
Mhm.
I'm 37. Like I'm happy that people don't just go into song because I mean, just think about the time spent waiting on for the song to end. Like I got your point on the chorus. Like that was it.
Yep. Very good answer. You're going to do well. I have a feeling you're going to break some rules here. What's the best horse movie?
Oh, there's so many good ones out there. Um, hmm, feel like I'm going to get in trouble for this one because I like it a lot, and it even okay. Let me put it this way. Horse movies have a thing where constantly it drives me nuts because they're so fake. Like I know that horse didn't just nick her, right? I know that that wasn't how that horse was. I know that when you open the stall, it didn't rear up like that. Like no, right? So they drive me crazy. But there's one that even the acting was so good. And even though it's corny and you can make fun of me, it's okay. But I love Seabiscuit. That was a really good movie. And it even, just the whole story behind it, I thought was fantastic. But it's not a normal, like, everyone loves that movie type of thing. So I don't know. You can make fun of me. I lost some points.
No,
It's all right.
it's a feel good movie. Yeah. And you
Yeah,
got to give it the acting isn't that the one with Toby Maguire?
it
And
is.
then you kind of find out later in life what a absolute asshat he actually is as a human being. And you're like, how can he come off likable in it? So yeah, no,
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah.
What skill or technique do you not have with a horse that you admire in someone else or some other group that you wish that you did have? So this could be farrier work, dentistry, body, you name it, dressage, lead changes, whatever. Catch a horse easy in pasture, you have trouble with
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
So, so I have a story with this one too. So this is good. So, you interviewed Patrick King a little while back, and he introduced me to coming with him to Portugal to ride under Luis Valencia. I think it was one of the first years, the first year he did it, and um, I don't remember if it was first year that I did this or second year that this happened, but it was one of those moments where you become really humbled in the fact of like shit, you don't know everything. And I profess to not know everything. I profess to say like I'm good at this, I'm not good at this. But it was a moment that I realized like, oh man, I at least I thought I was decent at this. So here's a quick story. Was I was taking a lesson, and luckily, these people were so wonderful. There was a lot of people that Patrick brought, and they would put them on these lesson horses, if you will, what they considered lesson horses, which was far better than here in the States, mind you. They're higher level dressage horses, but they put me on one of their bullfighting horses, and I was super excited, was very proud to be on it. I felt good. Well, we were working on a pirouette with this horse, and mind you, he was a younger horse, and so I knew that he wasn't fully finished, right? Um, but we're doing this pirouette, and I am fighting, and I mean, I'm holding on to those reins, I'm pulling real hard, and I'm thinking to myself, like everything they've taught me goes against what the hell I'm doing. But I'm trying to literally force this to happen. And I didn't make it. I couldn't get what I was trying to get. And I got a semblance of it. We quit. And the thing she said to me that really humbled me, she's like, "You see Martine over there, um, who says he didn't speak a lick of English, but I know he did." She's like, "That's his horse." And I said, "Oh yeah." She's like, "He can do everything we were just working on, but do a bridleless." I said, "God damn it, why would you tell me that?" And that was a moment that like it really I got a serving of humble pie because I realized like that was to a whole nother level. And he was a younger, like 20, he was God's gift to horses type of thing in his early 20s. And I was in at the time later 30s, and I was like, shit, man, I got a lot still to learn. And whatever, like top level dressage was not a thing I was going towards. But again, I thought I could be able to at least understand and pick these things up. So I envy. I forgot the kind of the question, but I think it was I envy that ability to have that finesse and softness that I constantly strive for. But um, there's other levels to it that clearly I need to continue to work on.
Isn't that
I think,
exciting though? How boring would this be if you could just master it and that was that? I mean,
yeah, yeah. I remember that whole time too. Like they would put out everybody would be in these different style lessons, and they ended up putting me in with, and this is not a knock against the people who were there, but they put me in with those who were more on the beginner side. um, like day one I told them who I was, and I got to ride good horses. Day two, ride less good horses. Day three, I'm riding beginner safe horses. And I remember calling my wife like super depressed. I'm like, not only are they treating me as a beginner, but at the same time, like I'm feeling knocked down, and I'm feeling embarrassed because I'm coming in as a trainer, and and I can't even keep up. And I remember just talking it over, saying I've got to just keep pushing on. And I remember telling myself, well, I've hit rock bottom here for this time here. I might as well just enjoy. I can only go up from here. And I did, and it got better by the literally the next ride. So, but it was again a good humbling experience that was necessary for my progression.
very good. I'm betting just Patrick is a friend of both of ours. I'm betting Patrick slipped somebody 100, and that's why they were putting
God
you at
damn
the
it! I didn't
kiddie
even
table.
think of that son of
Yeah,
a. I, you know,
you've
I
met Patrick, right? I mean, it's
Yeah, I'm
obvious.
gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna end up having to send him a text after this. Damn it. Now
Although
I need to know.
the humility, the lesson. I know that wasn't Patrick's master plan, but probably it is useful for you anyway. He was just screwing with you, though. I have zero doubt that's what was going on there.
Well, you want me to tell you a story while we were there about him screwing with me?
I do.
So you'll find this funny is he I think it was him who did it, but it was him and two other guys. They found out that I'm a germaphobe. Like I'll pick up horse shit all day, but when it comes to people, I'm a germaphobe. Cannot stand germs. Go the heck away from me if you're sick, etc. Right? And so they found it fun and funny that after dinner one night, we would be coming out of the restaurant that I think it was him. I think it was him or somebody. I don't remember which one it was because it was a blur because I went blank for a minute. And it was him and these two other guys. They literally put water in their hands and he did a fake sneeze and blew the water all over my face. And the two of the other guys, and now I'm having a brain fart, who they were, literally got in front of me thinking I was going to go after him and attack him. But what they didn't realize was that a germaphobe doesn't go towards the germs. It was one of those, I'm running away from them. And they thought it was the funniest thing, and it took me about 5 minutes for me to calm down because I was pissed off that they did that, but not from the joking. I took the joke fine, but I still, in my mind, what I was angry about was you still had to blow with germs in my direction. So I wasn't. I could take the joke. I loved the joke, but they
Huh.
they laughed on that the rest of the night. So there you go.
Yeah. And let's be honest, we know Patrick. Probably he has something. So,
Yeah,
that he's yeah.
yeah. That's right. Something no one wants to catch. That's good.
What's the most important quality of a horseman? And I'll tell you right here, I hate questions like this the most. Like
Yeah, that is.
categorize it down to one, right? But anyway, so if you got a few, that's fine.
Yeah. What's the most? Wait, repeat the question one more time.
Most important quality of a horseman.
I find this to be the most important one for myself. So I'm just going to use it for myself instead of necessarily thinking overall. The ability to fluctuate. And I use that word because somebody asked me if you could sum up training in one word, what would it be? And that took me a long ass time to figure out the answer, but the answer to that was fluctuation. And the ability to fluctuate means to me that you have the ability to stay at a low energy, but have the ability to come up when necessary, but immediately come down without holding emotion over it, even in the toughest of situations. I'm not talking about the times where we're in front of people and we're like, do it this way or whatever. I'm talking about behind closed doors when that horse is trying to do something to you. Can you be able to come up and, if need be, mind you, come up when you need to and then come down immediately and be in an emotional state that is conducive to learning.
I
I do
like it.
feel that is not within everyone, and I can tell you that because I've been vulnerable more than a time or two in my life of talking about this. Is I struggled with uh, anger issues. I struggled with a temper. And horses are actually the thing that helped me with it because for many years, horses were the things that spurred my temper on. And I had to learn how to fluctuate because I started to realize every horse I touched, we would fight. And I learned the saying, "What's the common denominator here, bud? It's you,"
Mhm.
right? So I had to learn the hard way of that answer.
I feel seen right now. Let me tell you, Scott. Yep.
Ooh, I like that.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how well can you back a trailer?
10, 100%. I got a story for that too. Because I teach people how to back trailers all the time. But 10, and here's why I owe it all to my father. My father, at the age of 16 years old, actually before that, so I should say that, but he said to me that um, we had a half a mile long driveway that literally went down a hill, up a hill, and I had a three-horse gooseneck with a dually, and he said, until you learn to back this all the way down the driveway, you cannot go forward. And I initially hated him for it. But now I can parallel park our 45-foot trailer, not a problem. Like it is a talent that I do not tote upon myself normally. I'm terrible at it, but when it comes to back in a trailer, I got you. What about
And
you, by the way? That's a question I want to ask to you.
oh, I'm pretty competent. I will say, like I've seen some 18-wheeler drivers do some stuff that I'm like, yeah, I couldn't have done that.
Fair.
I mean,
That's a fair point. I'm not an 18-wheeler driver.
yeah.
I'll profess to that.
So I'm a 9.5 or something like that.
All right.
There's a level above me, but you're in a pretty small group when you're there.
All right. I can then justify bringing it down even for myself. I'm not an 18-wheel driver, and I mean, I've traveled this country more times than I can count, probably the same as you. And you see at truck stops, because that's most of the time where we live. You see at truck stops, you see these tractor trailer drivers. Like, how in God's name did he just park that sucker without even going forward once? That's impressive.
Hmm. Bay or sorrel? Do you have a color preference? It could be something else, gray or whatever. But
Yeah, I mean, not gray. Mm-mm. Um, um, I mean, sorrel, roans, like that. Bays, let me tell you why no. We run a uh a aftercare, a thoroughbred aftercare rescue. Um, and the biggest joke is we got another bay. You know, we have a farm full of bays. And you know, I'm ready to see some color here. So I can appreciate a gorgeous paint, but you know, I love blue roan is one of my favorite colors. Sorrels are great as well, but yeah, that would be blue roan probably be my favorite. And a nice paint is obviously. I think there's a lot of well, this is controversial. I think there's a lot of ugly paints out there, but you know, maybe we should bleep that part out because people say, well, my paint's not ugly. You know, it's to the eyes of the beholder.
yeah, I like to just to let people at clinics know who I am and everything right from the start. I'll say, it's good that you got one that looks like that because if this doesn't work out, you make a beautiful rug in front of the fireplace.
Oh, God. That's taking it to another level. I like it. Jesus.
uh,
That's funny.
dogs or cats?
Dogs. And that's
Any
the most common
particular
answer, I would assume.
any particular breed?
Yeah, border collie.
Okay.
Yeah, my border collie of 12 years died 2 years ago, and he was my best bud, and I struggle to. My wife has a healer. Um, the family has a Heinz 57 when we adopted one. She's kind of, I don't even call her a dog. She does nothing. Um, but but uh, um, but my border collie, I can't. I'm struggling to get another one. You know, I bonded so much with him that it's hard. I still feel like I'm replacing him.
Yeah. It is really one of the cruelties of life that dogs only live to be 10 or 12 or 15 years old. Yep. I knew exactly what you mean there.
Yeah.
Does pineapple belong on pizza? I told you there'd be some controversial stuff in here, so some people are willing to fight over this one.
Yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing your response here, but let me, it's almost a little Switzerland from the perspective. I hated pineapple on pizza when I was younger, but my son loved pineapple on pizza. Now I like pineapple on pizza. So, you know, that's the most Switzerland answer I could give, but yeah, I did not I would say pineapple was not ever meant to, but now I love it. So, you know,
Yep. So, what would be let's say you're ordering pizza, what are you normally going to go for?
supreme.
There you go. You like the jalapenos and anchovies and all of it, or are
Now,
you backing
so
off on
here,
that stuff
you
a little
know,
bit?
here we go on the opportunity to make fun of me. Um, I can't do, and all my life I've been made fun of this, so it's okay. I can't do spicy things, not even in the slightest bit. And my, you know, So all my life, I just thought I was a wuss because everyone told me I was. And so, here comes Sissy Scott again. Can't put pepperoni on a damn pizza because it'll affect him. And for years I stayed silent about it, but what it actually is my tongue frickin' swells up and it gets red as a beet and larger and it hurts like hell when I eat anything with spice, any acidity. I did find out why it is. It took 35 years of my life to figure it out. I was at the dentist and he says, "Oh my gosh, look at you. You have a geographical tongue." I said, "What the fuck is a geographical tongue?" I'd never heard of such a thing. I thought I was dying, if I'm being honest. And he said, he explained it to me. I looked it up on Google. You want to know the first symptom of geographical tongue? Embarrassment. Because you can't, you can't be seen in public, evidently, with, going out to eat, that is, with anyone. Imagine me going to a Mexican restaurant. It's the worst for me, just because I can't, like, what do you have that's not spicy? Nothing, sir. I'll see you later.
Well, fair enough. And I have an ex-brother-in-law that had a geographical tongue, so I have actually heard of this
You've
before.
heard of it before? Well, there's not, I've actually never met somebody else who says they've had that.
We will not compare you to that bastard in any other way, though. So,
Shit, I feel like the points just went down.
no, no, no. You're good. You're good. He was. I won't get into that. But are you a cook? I have a lot of food questions if you haven't noticed. So I guess I was
Yeah,
hungry
no,
when I wrote
those are
this
those are
list.
good questions. So here's the thing. I naturally am not, but I want to be better, and I do strive to be better. I do enjoy food a lot. I do enjoy um, good cooked, healthy food, um, just because I'm trying to do better for myself. Uh, and unfortunately, when you're trying to eat healthier, if you don't cook it yourself, it's usually terrible. So, but I say that with the also what I am great at is cooking a damn good steak. I am a
Okay.
steak lover through and through, and if I'm sitting there, somebody says, will you stop eating steak so you can be healthier? Hell no. So that I have to say is what I am I'm great on the grill. Maybe that's a good one. Great on the grill, cook otherwise not so much.
So the steak, are we just salting it, or can you do some black pepper or garlic salt on there, or
So
what?
garlic salt, yes. Black pepper, no. I did just recently find a couple of rubs that I love putting all over it, and now I'm being put on the spot, and I can't remember the daggone. Yellowstone actually came out with a really good rub that you can't find anywhere but um, frickin' Walmart. Now they stopped it on the shelves, and it's I don't even know, since the show's over, whether or not you can buy it anymore. But it was like a wood smoked bourbon um, scent flavor to it, and I mean that was fantastic. But no, I usually am preparing it in. If I have it, I'll prepare it in milk for a while, for a good number of hours, and I will season it with salt, pretty heavily with salt at first, and then generally the rub after that. Um, and again, most of my tastes for rubs are along the lines of uh, wood wood smoked bourbon scent, type of smell and taste.
And the milk thing, I get that's where I would expect you to have the embarrassment because a lot of people haven't heard of that. But that definitely it breaks down tender. There's a thing there for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people do that with wild game to help remove the gamey flavor from
Yep.
it. But anyway, okay, I do have some science stuff to throw in here. So,
Go for it.
did you know that scientists have discovered how to create a velociraptor? You a dinosaur fan at all, or
I can. Fan is a tricky phrase. Do I love the concept, or not the concept? Do I love understanding about dinosaurs? Love the Jurassic Park movies? Sure, absolutely. Do I love watching those documentaries about dinosaurs? Absolutely. Am I a fan to go out and research the very statement in which you just said? I am not, but I do believe it 100%. Even if you lied to me, I still would believe it.
Well, this is so they figured out how to create a velociraptor. You simply divide a distance raptor by a time raptor. Yep,
Not even,
that's how it's gonna go
God,
right there.
that's, here
So,
I'm over analyzing this whole thing, and here,
so you can share that one with your boy. They'll
uh,
appreciate that. Okay, now a little more of a serious one. Would you share with us your horse industry related pet peeve? It could be more than one, but what drives you freaking nuts about this industry?
there's 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 a lot, and I'm sure if we get on the train, we could keep going for some time. I'll go for a simple one though, and I'm not turning away from anything controversial, but I'll go for the simple one. The amount of times that I hear people say, trainers alike, that say the phrase, if you ever stop learning, you're dying or you're dead. And I the phrase is perfect. It's a perfect phrase. It's accurate. However, I don't think people I don't think people actually use that shit. Like I don't believe that most people continue to educate themselves. And here's why. Because I have followed many of the people in our industry and I have watched their techniques never change. And if you were to look at a video of mine 10 years ago to what it is today, um, it's completely different. Like I almost am embarrassed by some of the things that I said 10 years ago to what I say today. And I think that people need to continue to educate themselves in every aspect of this business, not just the horses. They need to educate themselves on the people too, because it's not about just the horses anymore. I mean, when I say anymore, it never was, but we just didn't know that, or we didn't preach that, I should say. Um, so one of my biggest pet peeves is the fact that I think they're all lying. I don't think they learn anything. I think they just say that for showmanship.
I think we have a really good sponsor now. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to mess with you, but I'm feeling good about it right
All
now.
right.
So,
That's good.
feral or spoiled? What would you rather fool with?
Uh, okay, sorry. It took a second for the. It was funny. We were talking about horses. So, or I'm sorry, talking about people. So for a second, I was thinking from the perspective of a person. Do I rather have a feral person or a spoiled? I think both answers feral. If I'm being honest. Yeah, it's feral 100%. Um, but yeah, yeah, it's definitely feral because spoiled, you're fixing problems. Feral, you can create them yourself and then realize, I fucked up, and I got to fix this now. But but you have a better chance of it. The only thing there are certain things with feral horses that can take longer, just from the perspective like somebody sends you a horse for a month, you're not going to be the same place that you are with a feral horse that you would be with a just a spoiled horse that already knows things.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
you can erase some and add to it faster than you can feral, but you kind of get what I'm saying, right?
yeah, absolutely. And for the record, most of the trainers, I think we've only had 3 or 4 people that pick spoiled, and there seems to be like an age line. Most of them
Yeah.
are 60 plus. Then because you got to beat on the spoiled one, but the feral one beats on you. So at some
Yeah.
point, you're sick of. Yeah, fair enough, right? Do you have a least favorite barn chore?
You know, yeah, and being the trainer, one would think that that I would like this job more. Um, but it's feeding the horses. Not because not because like I'm I don't want it to be taken wrong, like, oh, he doesn't like to feed his horses. It's not that. We do run a rescue, which we have to do. But from the perspective, it's time consuming, and it eats up so much bloody time. And so I when I'm doing barn chores, what I how we mix it up, if an employee doesn't come in and I have to do the barn chores or whatever, mix it up between a couple of us. I say, you guys feed and turn out, um, and I'll clean stalls because I'm a fast shit slinger. I should, like I shouldn't be as good as I am with that. Like it's not a skill used anywhere else. But I'm fast at. So by the time they feed and turn out, I've usually got all the stalls done.
Okay. Well, usually the follow-up question is most favorite barn chore. So I guess that would be, is it a Zen thing? Are you thinking and
No,
like
it's something
it's
I can control the speed of. I'm a big believer in you can't buy back your time. And so, if I'm doing chores in which essentially don't move the needle forward in anything, um, I really struggle with it. So everything has to have a direction of moving the needle forward and something in which I can at least I feel it helps me feel that I'm moving the needle forward, getting that done moves us along because I can't speed up feeding and turning out any more than I already can. I can scoop poop real fast. Like I can run and make that happen.
Mhm. Yep. Do you have any favorite words of wisdom? So maybe a mantra you live by, a lower back tattoo, or anything like that?
Um, I do for every situation. I don't have one for um, I don't have just a one mantra, but I'll tell you a mantra that has lived with me for quite some time. And it's not one that I would. This is one because I deal heavily. Most of my business, I deal heavily with people with fear issues, and it was something that actually, and we don't need to necessarily get in the story right in a second. If we can talk about it later, I guess it's fine. Is I was humbled by a horse that really brought fear for the first time in my life at a young age, and it was one of those things that uh, it really took me an entire year to try to work through this fear, but I want people to know that fear is never something that just goes away. It doesn't. And I always tell people that people who hold that are fearless are far closer to death than people who have fear, because usually the fearless ones are the stupid ones. They're going to go and do something stupid, and so the mantra. And I know it's a long-winded answer to get to the answer here is uh, what really changed me was one day I woke up and I said I was feeling this anxiety, overwhelming anxiety on over me to get on this horse, and I said to myself, I said, Scott, motherfucker, if it's your day to die, then goddamn it, it's your day to die. You're gonna go out in a blaze of glory, and that changed my mindset like that. And I said, fuck this, I'm going. And Um, and in that, like, I literally went from, I was in the bathroom looking at myself in the mirror. I went from the bathroom, I went out and I got on that goddamn horse and I rode it great. And I found myself I've been in colt starting competitions, you know what they are, 3 hours or whatever to start a horse. And I remember one horse, every time I was in the second hour, every time I put my foot in the stirrup and got up to get up, that sucker was trying to buck. And I could not, like, I couldn't hang on. It was too good of a buck, and I wasn't, my fear was in there of like, I'm not cowboying this shit out. Like, I'm not just going to get on and cowboy it out. And so I did all these other techniques, but the techniques worked, mind you. But the day three coming in or the third hour, I had to tell myself that before I entered that round pen. I said, if it's your day to die, man, it's your day to die. You ride this goddamn horse. And talking to myself that way works, but it's not for everyone. But it was something that changed me forever, and it will continue.
I kind of firmly believe in that. When the good Lord wants you, you're a grease spot wherever you stand, and so you just kind of, full sin,
Yeah,
baby. That's the only way to live. Yep,
yeah.
absolutely. Plus, chicks dig scars. That's just a fact of life. So,
That's if you can come back from it.
um, crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
Smooth.
Okay.
I
Well, it
know.
might be the
That's okay.
geographic tongue. All right. So I was thinking a little less of you, and I was like,
That's
maybe
okay.
he's got an
But I
excuse
love
here.
peanuts.
Okay.
I love peanuts and I love peanut butter, but I cannot do them as if they are supposed to taste one or feel one and the same.
Okay. All right.
That's like raisins, man. Like, do you like raisins?
Mhm.
Do
I do.
you like um, raisins in your cookies? Or yeah, raisins in your cookies.
I
Do
do.
you?
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. Well, now you've down a peg or two in my book.
I could eat raisins and grapes in like a fruit salad together. Like there's no but I'm pretty broad on my foods that I like. I don't
Yeah,
there's not a whole lot that I
fair
call.
enough.
So,
Fair enough. But see, most people don't agree with you on raisins and raisins in their cookies.
mhm.
Like it's ugh. I can't. But that's my point. Is I can eat them individually. I can't eat them together like that.
Okay. Would you tell us something unexpected about you?
Now you're putting me on the spot. I haven't a bloody clue. Something unexpected about me. I mean, I have a stupid party trick. That's unexpected. Nobody expects that. I can wiggle my ears. That's about it. That's
Okay,
a
just like the pulling them back a
yeah,
little
the
bit.
pulling them back,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
it's a trait that's more rare in people. Not very many people can do it, but what's an unexpected trait? I mean, people are surprised of my one and only other hobby that I have, and that is soccer. I play soccer, um, on rec league, for rec leagues weekly, and I love abusing my body that way.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I'll let you know now that I played rugby in college, and if you're aware, rugby players and football players are mortal enemies, so I have to hate you from now on. But it's been nice up to this point.
It's
I'll
been,
give you.
it really started with the peanut butter question, and it's kind of gone downhill since. So
I
I'm expecting not a prize at the end of this any longer.
I mean, look, sometimes you ride a horse for 15 minutes and he bucks in the middle. I mean, you get what you get. That's how it goes.
That's funny.
Thoughts or feelings? So, do you consider yourself more an intuitive, emotional, go with your gut guy, or are you cerebral, thinking it through, logic, reason,
Thoughts.
thoughts? Okay,
Hmm.
not super surprising.
Yeah, most men are that way in general, and that's not a demeaning towards women, by the way. That's just the difference between men and women. Women feed more off emotion than men do. Just again, that's just a more of a fact than it is anything negative towards either way. But that's also what gets us in trouble with women is and when I say with women, I'm generalizing that. I'm going to say with me getting in trouble with my wife. I'll put me under the bus on this one. Um, so you can create a fact and explain a fact, but that doesn't negate a feeling, which was definitely something that I had to learn. This is that part of self-educating is understanding how you can throw a fact at someone who is afraid to get on a horse. That doesn't help you for shit. Throwing facts doesn't. This horse hasn't bucked anyone off in a year. I don't give a shit. It's still one of those things like facts don't help with feelings the way that we would like them to. Some people it does, but for the majority it does not. So
Okay, I was about to just abandon you and hit end when you got into the man woman thing, but then you redeemed yourself a little bit. I was like, you are on your own here, Scott. All right. Oh, what would you have been professionally if not a horseman?
I would have tried one of two things. Um, I would have tried this comes back to where you and I are going to fight, being a professional soccer player, football player. um, I was really good at it, and I could have gone farther, but I didn't. Um, whether I would have made it professionally, that's why I said the word I would have tried. I don't know if I was ever that good.
Mhm.
I want to put that out there. Like I'm not saying I'm. Um, but the other thing I would love to get into is would have been acting or some kind of cinematographer. Cinematographer.
Okay. All right. And for the record, I actually like soccer quite a bit. I play with my son all the time. So yeah, I played in
You just
elementary
don't love
school
your
and
son,
stuff.
is what you're
I
saying.
played soccer. No, it's just that like the thing I can't get past with soccer is like the fake tackles and the acting like he hurt me and stuff. And I
You're
mean, in rugby, I've seen a
my
guy almost get his ear ripped off. I've seen a testicle ruptured. Like, and they keep playing. Like you have to
yeah.
stop them and say, "No, dude, you gotta
I
go to the
don't
hospital." That's
I
a
don't know. I don't know with the lifts how a testicle doesn't rupture every time. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But you are right on the money. I cannot stand that. And my son, my youngest son, he's 10 now. He's on travel leagues and he's doing really well in the sport. And I tell him like if you fall and you don't immediately get back up, then you better be down because something really hurts. Like, because I grew up that way. Um, if I fall off a horse, if I fall off, like if I fall a trip or whatever, if you see me on the ground longer than 2 seconds, you better come a running because something's wrong. Like I'm usually one of those trip and fall, and I try to roll and get my ass back up and say nobody saw that, right? Like I can't tell you the number of times you get bucked off, um, and like I'd be up before somebody even looked over. I'm like, how did you get there? I don't know. So
I
yeah,
know.
the fake falls. Oh my God, they need to put a little bit of American football into European football and have the playbacks and be like, start getting after these fake falls because like these people are like crying on the ground, and if I'm crying, something's really hurting me. Like, you know what I mean? So you just got me on a pet peeve too, right there. So
No,
there you go.
if we were playing a competitive sport like that and you're gonna act like I did something I should get a penalty for and I didn't, I'm about to get my money's worth. You know what I'm saying? If I'm gonna be penalized for hitting you, I'm gonna hit you for real and everybody can just watch it go down. Because
Yep.
like I'm go ahead and fake that on me. We'll make it
Yep.
real. No, you don't need to be a liar. We can settle it right here and now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and even in the Americanized football, when they get hurt and they go down, they might be in a play or two later. Um, but for the most part, they're actually hurt. For the most part, I'm sure there's strategical hurt, but you get my point.
Mhm.
Is but in soccer, they're crying on the ground, then they get up and they run again, and especially when they're crying on the ground and the ref doesn't call it, they get back up and like, okay, well I'm back to running. You shouldn't that kind of pain. You shouldn't be like being able to get back up. But I digress.
Are you decisive or indecisive?
Decisive.
You have answered a few pretty decisively and quickly. So yeah, I figured. Do you have a favorite piece of tack or horse related tool?
I like how that's the follow-up question to the decisiveness. I mean, everything has its purpose. Um, everything has meaning behind it. I have tack and equipment, of course, that I use every single day. Um, you know, uh, what a
So I'll tell you, when I wrote this question, nobody's ever answered it this way, but I really intended it to be a sentimental kind of a thing. Like I worked for
okay.
this guy for 5 years and he gave me this bridle when I graduated kind of from the deal. And so I hardly ever use it. Nobody's ever allowed to borrow it. Is there
My
anything like
saddle.
that?
Yep. Okay. From that perspective, I can answer it. I was thinking about it from like the instrumental, number of uses perspective. Um, but my saddle, and why is it? It was the first. I don't like the way a lot of saddles are made overall, and especially with how it sits you. Western saddles, I should be more specific saying. Um, I feel that a lot of them really promote sitting back in a chair. I'm a huge believer in centered riding. That's some of the things that we preach and talk about and teach every day. And so I had to custom make a saddle for with many different things. But this was my first saddle I made 20, oh God, 21 years ago. Jesus Christ. So it's still in working order today. And my ass prints and I have a bony ass. They are there, and you cannot deviate them, and so it means a lot to me. And if a horse ever breaks my saddle, that'll be a sad day for me.
Okay. I like it. Cold showers or cold food forever? Pick your poison.
Mm, cold food forever, because uh, shit. Now I just lost a steak. Never mind.
Cold
Um,
steak's good.
well, but okay. So does that mean you can cook it and then refrigerate it and eat it? I guess there's a caveat to that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like, I eat it. I mean, I eat steak. I cook it raw, but I still cook it. Okay, so then it's still cold food forever because I can recognize the benefits of a cold shower, but in the middle of winter, uh, no, you'd see that temper that I've worked so hard to alleviate come back real fast.
Are your hands or your legs better?
In what regards? Like I'm probably
Modeling.
more of a hand model if that's what you
Yeah.
mean.
Oh, no, in terms of riding, do you feel like it's rein management or seat and legs? What are you
Seat and legs.
weakest and strongest?
Well, so how you get taught to ride first is while you get taught to use your legs. We don't feel that we are in control. Humans, that is, don't feel that we're in control unless we're in control of these, our hands. And so I'll be honest that that's how I once used my ability to say I'm in control of something, of a horse, is through my hands, but have come back around to that again, educated myself enough that over the last 20 years that seat and legs are the most influential piece. I always ride as if the ending goal is bridleless, and I always ride or do groundwork as if the ending goal is liberty, meaning can I communicate without touching the horse?
I think Miguel at the Valencia stables is smiling right now.
Yeah.
Left or right lead? So do you have one that's easier when you have to be more intentional with, or have you managed to balance
So
that out?
that's a really fun question because I'm gonna answer it with my own, but I'm also gonna answer it with people in general. And this is really neat and something you might find as a pattern. I love patterns. So I find that the majority, now mind you, this is like a difference between right-handed and left-handed people. Okay, so majority of people are right-handed in general, right? There are left-handed people. I'm a left-hander. Um, but majority of people find more comfort in the left lead, including myself. Find that it's easier for them to get. They find that the right lead is a little bit more, can be a little bit more challenging for them to get. However, the right lead might be something which they feel that they themselves are more balanced on. Meaning they don't, if going to the left, they feel that they might fall more to the right. When they're going to the right, they feel more balanced as if they are not going to fall off in the opposite direction. And this is a pattern time and time again, but the horses have generally a higher or a softer canter to the left. Again, I'm overgeneralizing, and we can sit here and argue all day, and that's okay. But I'm overgeneralizing and saying more horses have um, a softer canter to the left than they do to the right. I would also say that the majority of horses are stiffer, just in general, to the right than they are to the left. Um, and I almost want to bring that question back to you as another trainer, too. A, have you seen this style of pattern? And B, do you have any thoughts as to why?
Uh, yes, I 100% concur with everything that you have just said. Um, I have a follow-up question for you with mine,
Okay.
and because you're a soccer player, you're going to taint the pool there. But I completely agree with that. One thing I will say, you didn't say this, but I hear it all the time, and I do disagree with it. I don't think nearly as many horses are left-handed as a lot of people claim.
No.
And what I mean by that is I think most of that is nurture, not nature. I think it's because they get
Mm.
handled so much more and led that way. And when they're halter
Oh,
breaking, people are
I
on the
want to talk
left. And
about
so we
this.
develop left bend. And so, but like I've had I don't know if it's opportunity or curse, but I've handled a lot of horses that have never been handled. And
Yeah,
when you handle horses that don't have human influence, the left right thing isn't nearly as pronounced. It's
yeah,
still probably the majority of horses are lefties, but it's like 60-40, not like
yeah,
90-10.
yeah.
So I think most of that stuff is the human interference that we see, not the
Absolutely.
horse
Absolutely.
themselves.
I don't disagree. And I love this conversation because this is such an important one. And I find that, but I find that there's also reasons why you you tend to see you tend to also see more horses that are um, have issues with their right hind and left front. Now I know that I think it was Jim Masterson that that and I've never actually had a conversation with him, so I don't want to speak for him, but I've heard his proteges. I've had his proteges come to the barn and teach clinics at our barn or whatever. Um, but I think he says the opposite, that more horses have the left hind issues than the right. But I have seen pattern time and time again personally, and spoke with many vets as well that agree to this pattern. But that's not negating what he has to offer and or to say. So I don't want to negate it, or and I could be getting what this person told me. So I would say that I, for a pattern, see that more horses have right hind issues, and when splints happen, um, you see them more frequently on the left front than you do on the right front. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen on the right front. It just means that you see them more frequently on it. And you start to question why. And you start to question how the horse can become guarded in the way that it moves, which is also then creating a little bit more of a left front, or I'm sorry, not left front, a left bend as well to go along with that nurture. So, and these are horses that have never been touched as well, have very similar patterns.
So are you
Anyway,
familiar with the concept of the nurse foot and that kind of thing?
no, what is that?
So, so if you go watch a bunch of horses in a pasture grazing, it is most common that they'll be standing with their left front forward and
Yeah.
grazing a little
Oh,
bit to the left.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
that they kind of, yeah, they can
yeah,
condition themselves sort of that way for whatever reason. So I think the diagonal you're talking about very much is there's something there. And I
yeah.
know Jim really well. I can fix it to y'all up if you're
I would freaking love
interested.
it.
But
Yeah,
he's a great guy. He's one of those. He could be a lot more of an asshole than he is.
yeah, that's fair. He's a
And
smart
he,
guy.
yeah,
He's
real
a very
humble.
smart, and I would not never profess to argue with him on it. I'm more intrigued by understanding these patterns, from what I see to what he sees, etc. Because I'm enthralled with patterns for both the horses and humans.
Um, so not to
All right.
just before I forget, but to bring it back to my original question, are you right or left footed?
So I would kick the ball with my right foot, right with my left foot or left hand.
So I've only got two or three people that on the follow up question, most people are right footed and left lead. And so I feel like there's a correlation there. And like we were talking about the balance, I think most people are probably sitting more on that left seat bone
Mm,
naturally, and so everything is kind of shifting uh,
yeah.
that way and all of that. I've had a few weirdos that crossed the right foot left lead thing or left footed or something, but there's a
Yeah.
decent pattern there too. So
Yeah. I love patterns.
as a soccer player, you would be a lot more ambidextrous with your feet than most people, I would imagine. So
Yes. Yeah. I'm a right footer, but here's the funny thing. Every week when I play, I score more goals with my left foot. I don't know why.
okay, what's the best smell in the barn?
um, I mean, for me, I, which is funny because I said I hate the chore so much. It'd be the smell of grain when grain is in the barn, or, um, yeah, it'd have to be grain in the barn, but I associate my favorite smells more outside with like grass cut. I love the smell of cut grass. And that brings a sweet and, ex- you know, not sweet, but like an excitement to me.
Okay, so I'll tell you, like we've had a lot of hay, the smell of the horse, leather, all that. You're probably the first person I can think of that has said grain specifically. So,
And but see
uh,
the that I knew the question like grain is covered when you first walk in, but I love the smell of grain.
mhm.
So that's the hard part. Is like it's not a smell that you normally have when you first walk in because you don't leave the grain uncovered. So it was kind of like it was not a great answer for that.
Yeah, no, I get you. You're opening the thing, and here's if they were germs, this cloud would come out, but instead it is,
Yeah,
here.
it's not again my germophobic thing. They don't make any sense.
I feel like I have to pick on you here because just
Go for
weird
it.
knowledge that I have. But did you know that all olfactory senses are particulate senses? Meaning, if you smell something, an actual particle of that thing has entered your nose and hit a chemoreceptor for you to smell it.
Oh yeah,
Meaning, when someone farts and you smell it,
you are. Hmm.
that yeah, that's
No,
in you now.
I am well versed in that understanding. And that's the funny part about it too, is like when it comes to humans, sickens me to death. When it comes to horses, I'm like, "Ugh, I just got farted in the face. God damn it. Like I do not it it doesn't make any rhyme or reason, right? I can go drink dirty ass water from the barn. But if I go up to my sink and it's brown, that's gross as hell. They're from the same well. That doesn't make sense. This is where I know I have a few mental issues that I still got to work on.
It's fair enough. Thoughts and feelings, right?
That's right.
Okay, you have kind of already talked about this one, but I'll still ask it: sweet, salty, or spicy? Obviously, spicy's not going to be the
Yeah.
answer here. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sweet when it comes to everything except my drinks. And not that I want a salty drink, but like I'm a bourbon fan, and that's one wouldn't say that that's a sweet drink.
okay. See, I'm also a whiskey guy, but if you think of people that are like dissecting bourbon, like vanilla, brown sugar, those
Fair.
actually are notes that are pretty
It
prevalent in there. So,
you are 100% right about that. But I was overgeneralizing that whiskey
well,
is not consumed as such. Thought
so
of as
let
such
let me
anyway.
ask you this, since now we're talking about whiskey, that may be the rest of the podcast, but so you mentioned earlier about liking smoky
Mm.
stuff. So are you at
Yeah.
all a Scotch fan? Because that's my jam. I like a really smoky whiskey.
I I am I like some scotches, but I tend to stick away from them more. I don't like them as much. I I like bourbon for the most part. I don't like rye. I yeah, I like and I'm trying to think now because I'm having a big brain fart what scotch I do like, but they're very few and far between. Um, my
More
favorite
like the
go-to,
sherry cask finish stuff rather than the
yeah,
peat.
I can't remember. But as far as smoky goes, I love to always old fashioned is my drink of choice. And obviously, there's about a million different ways people make old fashions. But no, an old fashioned. I love to smoke an old fashioned as well. I've got an at home smoker, and love smoking an old fashioned. Woodford is my is my whiskey of choice, just as a old fashioned style thing, and it's a good middle of the road whiskey. It's not terribly expensive, and it tastes good. But yeah, boy, I'm just having brain farts left and right as the brands as to what I like and don't like. But that's usually my go-to is a Woodford old
Okay.
fashioned.
And that's an oakier bourbon. So maybe
Hmm.
like the so in the it's a generalization, but in Scotch you're gonna have like the Olorosa sherry cask finished
Mm.
stuff, which I had more your like dark fruits, plums, and those sorts of things. Or then you go like the Isla whiskeys, and that's where it gets salty and iodine and real peat and heavy.
You
Those are
seem
the
to
ones I
know your
tend to.
stuff about this, man.
Well,
I think that if we ever actually meet then in person, we need to go on some taste testing things because I
absolutely,
am all about that.
for sure. And I mean, every soccer player needs a chaperone when they go out drinking too, so that'll work
I
out.
love that follow up. That was a great. That was great. Great. Like I feel like you could just literally end the podcast there. Be like, that was a mic drop moment. That was a good job.
Oh, do you have? So we got into this a little bit earlier. Do you have a favorite dinosaur or deep sea creature? Once you're like 8, nobody asks you what your favorite
Yeah.
dinosaur is anymore. So I figure I gotta throw that out there.
When I was a kid, I had two favorite ones. Oh my God, am I feeling like an idiot right now? Stegosaurus, is that one? The spiky tail?
Yep, yep.
Yep, Stegosaurus, and then the one with the three horns. What is that? Which one?
Triceratops.
Triceratops. Would have three. Try would have. Yep, made sense. Those were my two favorite ones when I was a kid.
Well, Triceratops is mine. I would love to ride that thing. Like he just looks like
Oh
a
my God,
battle
right?
tank. Like you just go
Yeah,
plow shit down with him.
yeah. I mean, you might as well if the closest you can get right now, obviously, go get on a rhino. Good luck.
Yeah, yep, it's true. Okay, our final question. Have you
Ugh,
ever had a UFO encounter?
no.
Right.
I have not. And you know what? I have frickin' tried to see some shit when, what was it, TikTok that has been all about these conspiracy theories and those sightings that were all over the damn place that I still don't know what the hell those things. You know what I'm talking about? It was recently that they're like
The
all these
drones
things
like
that,
New Jersey?
yeah, the New Jersey drones. Everybody says they were not drones and shit. And um yeah, I haven't you know, I was hoping that they were going to come into the Virginia area. We're not far from DC. We're important too. Come visit us. I want to see you.
Well, Scott, I'm tabulating your score here, and you got a unique number here. You have scored 5,888 points, which makes you our high scorer of all time at this game, and that entitles you to either an awkward silence or a genuine compliment, your choice.
I feel by the awkward silence I just gave is part of the answer, but you know what? I'm going to challenge you to see how good you are at it. I want a genuine compliment, which is going to make me feel really awkward. So go for it.
Absolutely. That's the people think complimenting someone is always warranted, and if you compliment an introvert, you have not done them a favor. They want to leave the hell, get out of
No,
there right now.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
in private, I'm an introvert. In public, I'm an extrovert. But yeah, it's going to make me feel awkward, and I'm looking forward to
me too,
it.
more than you know. Uh, okay, so actually, I'm going to say like this. I love the interviews where what I would have said before we had the conversation is now different than what I'm going to say. So
Ah,
what I would have originally said was kind of where I found you was your silent movie clips and reels and all of that stuff, and I appreciate. But I'm now going to say like kind of the Jerry Maguire thing. You had me at hello when you were that thoughtful and systemic describing how you dunk a cookie in milk. I was like, I'm a fan for life of this guy right now. Like he's taking this ridiculous question seriously and breaking it down and thinking his way through it. And most people won't do that. They will not apply the energy to a thought process like that. And I feel like you showed us a little glimpse of your soul, and it was beautiful. So that's going to be
Okay.
my compliment for
I
you.
I genuinely have to say that's one of my favorite compliments I've ever received.
Well,
That was that was by far like that was more genuine than most. Like when people say, "Oh, you did a good job with this horse" or whatever, I don't generally want to hear those compliments, but that was very genuine and I loved it.
well, thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Well, our conversation about whiskey got me thinking about, got my taste buds excited. So I decided to try a little. Somebody gave me this as a Christmas gift from here in Virginia. Never heard of this brand before. Of course,
I have not. Uh-uh.
I've never heard of it myself, so I'm going to give it a shot.
Well, let me tell you, I'm not going to let you drink alone. So give me just a minute.
Oh, I love hearing that. Oh my God, I'm an idiot.
Okay.
So
So
I feel
I'm
like an idiot.
joining you with some Buffalo Trace here, which is kind of my favorite $25 whiskey.
That's
So
perfect. Before I
can't
forget,
go.
this was sitting right
Ah,
next to me, and I
okay.
was dumb enough to not remember it. But this is my favorite Scotch.
Uh-huh. All
So
right.
that was that was mine. So anyway, hey, cheers to you, buddy.
Same to you. So that is Macallan as a Highlander. Those
Uh-huh.
are usually kind of the sherry cast, so they're going to be a little lighter and fruitier
Mm,
type flavored stuff, not as heavy or
yeah. Look at you.
anything with lands or Glen in it is usually kind of in that category. So
You got your own
Glen,
coffee mug with your
yeah,
I like it. I know, right? Good luck with this stupid
uh,
thing. Yeah.
anyway,
It's all right.
yeah,
I have my last name on this one.
very
That was
nice.
another Christmas gift.
I've been wanting to do. I like to poke a lot of fun at the over commercialization of some of these. So when I did the logo and this stuff, I was like, I want to do a pair of tidy whities with my logo right on the ass, and then like model it so you can have your Daniel Dolphin. And then I always think of the blooper reel of everything. I want a tarp. I use tarps a lot with my logo, but with like a smiling, and then
Yeah.
I want to train a horse where I lead him on there and he takes a shit and it falls right in the mouth of the logo on the tarp on the ground. Like, this is my thought process of, uh, it'll take me like 3 weeks, but I'm going to film that and capture it at some point. But my wife is like, no, you can't do that. And
Yeah,
you're just a buzzkill, baby. I mean, this would be hilarious, right? These are my people. Someone sees that, they're going to know who I am right away, right?
I also want to say, you complimented me on the detail to Oreos. The detail in which you've come up with these logos, that that should be a compliment in and of itself. That is impressive. You're amongst good company here because I that is my style of humor through and through, and I absolutely love it. I We shouldn't take each other so damn seriously half the time,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's really hard to put your sense of humor in that doesn't potentially offend or turn people off. But then I have to ask the question: do you want to train those people anyway?
I very much look at it as a filter.
Yeah.
Because like I'm sarcastic. I got to entertain myself throughout the clinics and stuff. And if you don't get my humor, it's going to be a long day for both of us. So
Yep.
you probably need
Makes.
to know before you show up so
Uh,
we can both, So yeah,
yeah. Imagine you coming in a trailer with the logo with shit, going into the mouth of it. Like people are like, you know what? I'm going home. Yeah.
yeah. If I'm not for you, that's okay. That's doesn't have to be everything for everyone.
That's right.
Well, I've had a good time talking with you. I'm glad that
Likewise.
you reach out to a stranger on the internet. You never know what you're going to get, but I do genuinely hope we get to share a whiskey
I
somewhere
do
down
too.
the road or something. So, uh, well, our first real question for everybody after surviving the lightning round stuff is: would you give us the 30,000 foot view of what it is that you do in the horse business?
Yeah. So I can kind of summarize it pretty quickly and easily. I consider myself a horse behaviorist and a rider confidence coach. And um, my whole focus is to be able to try and help people become the most confident self with teaching them how to communicate effectively with their horse. In my past, I uh, was a problem horse trainer. And for the first 15 years of even my career, all that I would do is take in every problem under the sun that I could possibly find. And I was excited to learn from them and learn kind of what it was that I could be able to modify and change and do differently. And one of the things, obviously, didn't take this long to figure out, but one of the things that I realized right off the bat was that it really had nothing to do with the horse. That the horses that had come from three other trainers or five other trainers that they deemed unrideable, it was more based about around the people. And so my what I'm committed to is to be able to help people, because the way I look at it is that I can only ride one horse at a time, right? I can only help one horse at a time. But if I help one person, the likelihood of that one person coming into contact with more than one horse is much greater than me being able to consistently help horses, you know, as an individual. So what I've been able to turn into is that horse behaviors. I love to figure out the why. I talk about the patterns. The why is so important to me. And I'll be honest, there are times where I still don't know. And I'm continuously try to work on figuring out why, and I'll be humble when I don't know something. Um, and so, yeah, my whole goal now is to be able to help people become the most efficient communicator they can be, because that's what I feel is really the number one problem. Is it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I mean, you've been in the industry long enough. I'm sure you've had someone say to you this style of phrases, I did exactly what you did and it still didn't work. And that phrase alone makes you scratch your head and be like, well, how is that possible? And maybe they did do the exact thing technically that you did, but the way you would have said the exact same thing would have maybe have been different had you been the one who did it. And so I think it's all about understanding the way that you communicate is more effective than um, what you say specifically. So that was supposed to be 30,000 feet. I went above and beyond. So there we go.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, I'm late to the game on teaching people. So I'm one of those that started this to hide out from people and just be in the woods with some horses. And then 25 years into it, you realize, oh shit, this is a people business, and I have been
Mm-hmm.
avoiding the real
The very thing you're trying to get away from.
exactly. Yeah. Um, so on the behaviorist end of things, do you spend more time educating yourself? You already talked about that, how you feel like continuing education is something people talk about but don't actually do. So are you spending more time learning about horses or about people?
Right now, it's been more about people. I am intrigued and enthralled with the human brain, and I, I get teased a lot because of this. I I listen to books, and my wife says it's because I can't read, and and it's mainly because I literally can't read more than she only hears that part of the sentence, by the way. I, I can't read more than 2 pages before my ass falls asleep. Whatever it is, my ADHD that kicks in, or whatever I have to go back, whatever. But when I listen to books, I get so much more engrossed into them. So Audible, I have a shit ton of books about understanding the human brain and understanding. Uh, uh, I'm big right now into NLP. I don't know if you ever heard of that. And when I say big into it, what I more mean to say is I'm enjoying learning about it. And I have learned a lot about it, but I constantly refresh myself because if you don't use it, you lose it, type of thing. And so my memory sometimes really fails me, so I have to go back and revisit these things. But NLP is such an instrumental piece of it, and I've actually been able to intertwine NLP understandings with the horse brain, which has really, really been mind blowing to me. And so that has been becoming a game changer to a point where like my whole communication style with the horse is getting better and better from that perspective.
Okay, so for those that may not know, NLP is neuro linguistic programming, and it's probably most famous within the sales community,
Mm.
where I would say some sleazy things have been like mirroring and things. So I pick
Yeah,
up on that.
yep,
Yep. That's one of those, like if I go to a car dealership or something like that, and I start seeing that because I'm aware of it. When
yeah,
I start seeing it, I'm like, okay, you are not my guy. This
yeah,
is too transparent. It's no, can't, no, absolutely
yeah.
not.
They didn't. They just
So,
got told mirror someone, and that's all that they did. Like they didn't learn the understanding of it. It's mirroring is not, you know, somebody leans against a car, you lean against the same car. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same exact thing. So it's mirroring kind of the way that they're speaking. It's mirroring certain styles of gestures, but you don't do it deliberately from a perspective. They raise the right hand, so do you. Type of thing.
so I'm just going to bring this up. Within like the horse world, this is one of those things I've always felt was a little bit bullshit. And it's kind of the sinking steps with the horse, or
Mm,
having horses, like say your pony and a horse, the two horses sinking steps together. Um, and I haven't played with that a ton, and maybe it's something I'm undervaluing, but is that mirroring that you would find value in the horse deal,
no,
or no? Okay.
no.
Like
I
I've seen,
find.
I can think
Go
of,
ahead.
I'm not going to name him. There's a certain clinician that seems to be really big into that, and they always take pictures. But like I'm looking at the picture and I'm going, the horse you're ponying's 13 and a half hands, the horse you're riding's 16 hands. So they took a photo, and on the frame, they caught both left front legs, but 3 steps later, they were totally out of sync because
Correct.
those
Yep.
two horses don't have the same, and
Yep.
you keep throwing this concept out there, but I'm sorry, that cannot,
Mm,
that little horse would have to trot to be keeping
yep.
up with your horse on so okay. I
Yep.
just had to
No.
get that
And
off of my chest. I
the
feel better
no.
now. I think we all feel better now.
So, well, but even with that, like you're talking, you're just saying an example too of like of two horses sinking steps, but at the same time, a lot of people do that from the human on the ground. So even from like groundwork perspective, um, they'll sink steps to act as if they are one with their horse, and I think people miss the deeper understanding of that sinking step. It's not about the actual steps in which you take. It's about the energy in which they provide while taking them. So, what I mean by that is you're not sinking the steps, you're sinking the energy. And that is something I'm a firm believer, and here's where we can be controversial, and I'm happy for it, is people, the number one thing people talk about, and I am being overgeneralized in this industry, but they talk about how body language is what horses read. And yes, they do I'm not saying they don't. What I'm saying is that's not the first thing that they read. They read that afterwards. Energy is first. Energy is the way they communicate amongst each other. Their focal lenses in their eyes don't have the ability to understand, especially things that are so close to them, that like we do. So, yes, our language is important, but the energy in which we put behind it is actually what they're listening to more than the language itself. And I'm happy for open debate on this. Um, but what I have found is how less is more with the horse, and this is part of that NLP part of it, of building rapport with someone and also building rapport with the horse. In fact, I now have a new exercise that I call building rapport, um, because that's what it's really about: is getting them to understand and listen to your energies, which means at times you have to match and create their attention and focus to be towards you for them to listen to your energy. And you can be able to communicate with so much less than what I used to. My beginning parts of round penning, for example, used to come from such a forceful way that, forcing one thing to happen versus the other, that now the majority of times, I'm not saying that there aren't still times where I don't use all the tools that I've learned in the past, But the majority of time, you can create the smallest of gestures and make the horse listen to you. And while it sounds like foo-foo crap, it is something that you can minimize things and create a relationship and communication with by less is more. And so, anyway, I went on a really long tangent, and I apologize for that. But that is something um, that I find being to be really interesting. Is I feel that horses listen to energy over they listen to body language. So the steps to which you were saying, that's for marketing shit.
So this is what I would ask you about. I'm really big on the body language component. The way that I see it or organize it in my head is that kind of the postural part is what displays the energy.
It does have a
Could be
part of it, yes. Uh-huh.
okay, because there is like energy is not a tangible, quantifiable, or at least if it is, I'm not aware of how we could do it. I do definitely recognize that energy exists. Like I like you, when I was younger, I had some anger issues, and there were times when I'm sure I walked into an arena and there were just these waves radiating off of me, and things were trying to climb the walls, and
Yep.
and I had to
Yep.
learn to control that. And so I mean, there is something there that exists, but I would also say, like, I probably could now be the old man sitting in the stands watching younger me walk into the arena, and I'm like, oh, that guy's pissed. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that from. So how would you define energy? How would you relate that?
So kind of going along the lines of what you're saying, energy is a presence, is a being. You can, I mean, one of the best ways to even think of it is, have you ever walked into your house and you know that you're in trouble before you even see anyone? Like, you know someone's angry, you can feel it in the house. It's not always a postural thing, because you can feel good, bad, uh, indifferences or whatnot. And sometimes they're wrong. I'm not saying that your feelings are always right from that perspective, but but energy is something in which we feel if we open our minds to. But to come to, well, let me. Okay, I need to answer your question first. This is where my ADHD kicks in. Um, so defining energy is essentially a feeling that every person has and every horse has. Postural does come play a role, but it's very minute into it. You can tell that right now I'm relaxed. But if my energy goes higher like this and I start maybe talking a little bit faster, maybe my posture doesn't change, but you can see that my energy raised. Would you understand from that perspective that it just went fluctuated up and then fluctuated down? The horse can sense that even if I'm not speaking. And I feel that horses can fully feel that from the smallest detail, even more minute than what we can understand.
Okay, I'm going to take this radically out of order, but I kind of feel like I have to, and we both have a little ADHD, so we're just going to bounce around
Yeah,
all over the
it'll
pinball
that'll make
machine
a
here.
perfect conversation. Go for it.
So you said earlier that you do a lot of work with people with fear, and fear has a certain energy, and I would
Yep.
100% agree with you that horses can read that, and sometimes that's a huge part of the problem. So how do you deal with this person and say, like, look, you can't be shitting yourself when you're up there in the saddle, because that's gonna that's gonna have an effect whether that horse
Yeah.
actually would have done anything or not. So how do you deal with that?
Well, that's such a great question, and honestly leads me slightly into our even sales pitch of we created a class recently that it's starting by the time this comes out, it'll have already started. Um, but it's a confidence accelerator class, and it's a 3-month accountability class. That's really what it is. We have an entire course called a confidence equestrian course that they'll have the ability to view, but it's not just about that. It's about being held accountable, and so the entire time we go on every week and we start holding accountability for some what we call daily non-negotiables. And so what I'm trying to get at here is not just selling this course or this class, but what I actually am trying to get at is people don't lack confidence; they lack the ability to prepare. And by preparation, what I mean by that is they don't prepare themselves mentally, they don't prepare themselves physically in order to be able to overcome their fear. There are a lot of things that what we'll use, and this is fun in this day and age to use this word, that trigger um, a fear point that people then fall down what I call the proverbial rabbit hole. And so first and foremost, what you have to understand with preparation, if your fear is so bad that just the thought of going to the barn makes you feel a certain way, this is not something you should try and overcome while on a horse. This is something you need to overcome while off of a horse. You need to be able to go through the understandings of how to realize that fear is a mental state in which you're in. And I'm going to make it sound like it's simple. Understand that when you're going through it, it may not feel that simple. Okay, so I'm not trying to make it sound like it's just this simple thing. But fear is a mental state. And here's one really cool thing to understand about the human brain. We cannot emotionally hold two emotions in our brain at the same time. It's impossible. And when people kind of question that, here's another way to look at it is, have you ever been crying at some point, then somebody says something funny, you laugh at it, and then you remember you're supposed to be sad, you go back to crying again. You've just changed states really rapidly from one to another. What if you have the ability to be more aware of these things and then be able to replace one state with another, right? So that's part of that preparation. Now, what's also part of that preparation is physical abilities, right? If you struggle with your balance in general, trying to learn balance on a horse while you're petrified of them is only going to make things worse. If you can't ride a trot because you're petrified that you're going to be out of rhythm with the horse, then the moment you become out of rhythm, you've just proven yourself right. So preparing yourself for all of these things, meaning there's a multitude of layers here, so I'm trying to keep it generalized, mind you. But if you prepare yourself, meaning, another sales pitch, come to my class, or see someone else. That was in half of a joke, mind you. But in all honesty, if you go see someone that to help you with it, I'll be honest. One of the things that helped me, and here's another part of I didn't believe in this until I did it, is I went to a hypnotist. And it's not the dangle the clock in your face and say, this is you're falling asleep and you're going to quack like a duck type bullshit. It is not that. It's understanding how to get within yourself and create true relaxation. Because it is possible. At any rate, sometimes I go off on these tangents. That's part of that mental preparation that's necessary. The other thing is physical preparation. We don't work our bodies enough half the time. And I'll say that I don't from time to time. I don't work my body enough and by work my body, that doesn't mean I don't go out and work 12 hours a day. Sometimes that's not enough physical labor. Like physical exercise is important. And that can be a walk for 45 minutes a day. Something that gets your heart actually pumping. That has literally scientific proof to be able to lower cortisol levels that bring you down, but not enough people do it enough. And so the physical preparation on how to be able to get yourself to be better at hey, when I trot, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my balance and then the horse is going to take off. Well, then go to a lesson horse that you can learn this on, that you feel safer on, and learn how to post correctly, learn how to sit correctly, learn how to do these things, and then go back to your horse. Don't try to do this shit all at once. People don't lack confidence, they lack the correct preparation.
Okay, I like it. And
Sorry
I'm
for
going to
that
tell you,
very long tangent.
I've been working on a course called Building Rapport for like 2 years now.
Ooh,
So
I'm
yeah,
interested.
we have to arm wrestle over that one or something. But I got a trade name for you, given
Okay,
what you just said. So this is for people that have problems with trail riding, and it's called Hack the Hack. Huh?
okay,
I mean,
okay.
I think
I'm
that
liking it.
that's a fair trade, right? So
That is a fair
we got
trade.
the body hack, the here's your hack for the cortisol, the problems you have for the hack. You see what I did there?
I
So
like that.
it's
I like that.
Okay,
Is that
clever.
free to use, bud?
Yeah, I'm giving it to you. That's what I
I
say, right?
I didn't know if this was like, I did my sales pitch and now all of a sudden I have to pay you to
No, no.
you're over here. You say you're writing shit down, you're trademarking shit, so that way I have to
Oh, that's one of those. Yeah. Well, I won't get into that. Let me take
I
a
was only
common
teasing, bud.
phrase and make it so no one else can use it again. Join up, registered trademark. All right. So you again, out of order, not what I was planning on talking about, but we now talked a little bit about people with fear. You talked a little bit about some of your own
Yeah.
fear before. So what's the chicken or the egg here? And I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to throw you under the bus here by yourself. I've done a lot of problem horses and dangerous shit. And
Yeah.
if you're telling me that you went through decades of that and you haven't been crapping yourself at some point, and there wasn't a horse that you were like, man, I don't want to go get on him today, then you're lying. I mean, there's no two ways about that. So we all have to deal with that at some point in
No,
time.
I'll be vulnerable. I'll tell you exactly how I feel about that if you want.
Yeah.
Um, I don't get on a new horse for the first time without having any kind of fear, not even in the slightest. I have a semblance of fear every single time I get on a new horse. I don't care how much groundwork I've done with them, how much whatever it might be, do all of the right things. I don't know what I don't know. You don't know how that horse will potentially react. You do all the right things that, every first ride that I have on an unbroke colt, um, I mean, I can tell you right now, I've only had one one ride go bad on the very first ride of an unbroke colt. That is unbroke colt, and I've started a lot of colts. As long as I did my due diligence, let me put it that preference. If I did my due diligence, I only had one horse that went bad, but that does not mean that I don't hold fear every single time that I get up there. So yeah, I would be lying if I said I didn't hold fear. But I personally think fear is the thing that makes you good at training. This is where I try to make change for people is understanding fear is great. Use fear. Fear is an ability to make you acknowledge and understand and open your mind as to what the fuck could go wrong. And now you have the job that if you now know and can see what could go wrong, you now have the ability to either do one of two things. You either let it debilitate you and you say, I'm done. Or what you do is you use it for you instead of against you. And you say, okay, so if I did this, this could happen. So if I'm concerned that this is a big deal, that this could happen, I need to do this to alleviate that potential. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And come up with an entire slate of things that you could do that literally this happens in a matter of seconds that we all have that ability. But most of the time we use the fear and let it debilitate us instead of help us. Um, and if you're wanting to know what my pet peeve is, there's one of them. You saw how emotional I got about that.
So let me ask you this. I saw an interview, totally random thing a while back, and it is one of those little like random moment that has just stuck with me. and
Okay.
and it's kind of in this. And it was a basketball player. I'm not a follow. I don't know who this guy
Yep.
was, but he was at like the NBA championships, or whatever. Somebody is interviewing him, and basically the reporter kind of showed his own cards a little bit. He was talking about, you're in this situation, da 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 da, and most people would be, fearful of this, that, and the other. And the basketball player basically said, "I'm not fearful. I'm excited." And I thought,
Oh, I
man,
love that.
like that's because what is fear? You think about your physical, like elevated heart
Yep.
rate, your blood
Yep.
pressure goes up.
All the
But
same.
excitement is yeah. So that's what I was thinking. It's like this guy took that thing that you feel and he recognized it as something else. And what a paradigm shifting freaking thing that is.
It
The
really is.
yeah.
The
So
symptoms are the exact same. The symptoms of fear and excitement are the exact same. It's all how you perceive the information. And that is where it becomes, as you said, this paradigm shift and change. Um, I think it's amazing. And I'll be vulnerable again. one of the things, and I learned this is why I went and saw a hypnotist, was actually not about the horses and fear. I um, when I uh, uh, when I was younger and traveling, it was totally fine. But after having kids, I learned that something in me changed, um, and so I got a fear of flying. Right, I can get on a horse that's bucked 6 people off and have less fear than I do getting on a goddamn plane. And I had done self medications, things, drinking, sleeping pills, anxiety pills, and I got to a point I have to fly in a day or two early, just because when I got there, my body would fight. Yeah, my body would fight the pills that I was taking. I wouldn't take shit that I shouldn't have taken, mind you. Like I just did.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Um, but my body, when I landed, I was out like a goddamn light. And so I had to I had to take a whole day just to recover from it. So I was like, you know what? I don't believe in hypnosis at the time. And I said, I found a local guy and he was freaking amazing. It was absolutely stunning what he did with my brain. I was fully aware of the entire thing, but I went into it with an open mind and it fucking worked. And that was huge to me. And so that was a part of my massive journey to figure out, why did that work? Why did that make me feel so much better? And so, anyway, yeah, that was one of the things I learned long ago. That was it's so instrumental. So, more to my point, getting on a plane, instead of being like I'm petrified to get on here for 6 hours to go across the country or to go wherever, I'm excited that I get to be there in 6 hours. I'm excited that I get to see what I get to see. I'm excited that I get to help the people that I get to go and help. It helps me a lot.
Yep. Well, I like it. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. I think that's probably going to help a lot of people, and that takes bravery too. So it isn't,
Yeah.
you know, very good. Um, while we're having a therapy session here, why don't you tell us your relationship with failure? So this is kind of one of these things that's
Constant.
come up with me a bunch lately, and I've always loved the saying that the master has failed more than the novice has tried.
Yeah.
And you talked about the horse in Portugal and all, and it if I were outside my wheelhouse in something else, then I might be guilty of this too. But it astounds me, working with people and horses, how hard they try not to fail. And to me, it's completely backwards. You should try as hard as you can to fail, and because that's where all of the learning, and that's where the good shit lies. The
You're
avoidance
right.
of that is like your biggest Achilles heel. That is the thing that is in your way.
Yeah.
Um, so tell us your thoughts.
Failure's not, you know, I'll date back and come back to where I am today. So failure was a big word in my vocabulary long ago. But I've learned that failure is not a thing. It is merely course correction to the path on which you need to go on. I absolutely love creating suggestions that may or may not work. And when you create said suggestion, it is an opportunity that you can learn to see whether that does create a positive outcome or a negative one. And you can learn what the hell to do and not to do. So there is no such thing as failure. And you think about it, I studied these famous business people. Most of these people all had 800,000 no's before they got the one yes. The thing in which we know them for is not the thing in which they started out with, right? Elon Musk was not the one, that we knew him to be from Tesla or whatever, right? He started many other things, and I'm just using him not to get into him personally. But more to my point is, there are a lot of course corrections that you will continuously find. And I'll be honest, in this industry, for me personally, I've had so many course corrections. I don't fit into the same realm as what a lot of these natural horse trainers fit into. If I did, I think I would be more famous than I am. But I've had to course correct because because I don't fit in the same way. And I don't mean that in a negative or poor me. I need you to understand that I'm thrilled with the direction I'm going in right now. And I couldn't be happier. And I'm trying to take what I understand and continue to learn upon to a whole nother level with how to help people and the horses. And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to course correct along the way.
But normally I am forgetting about the sponsor, and I sometimes get to it late, and that's the perfect place. So we're going to take a break and do our sponsor right now. So our sponsor for this episode is In Living Color Media Productions. Are you a horse trainer meant for bigger things? Are you funny, cuss like a sailor, really religious, or perhaps well read? All we need is your ambition, a credit card on file, and something to base your entire personality around, and you too can lead a horse cult. Look, it's 2026. You can't be truly successful unless you have your own group of zealots who will fervently fight others on social media on your behalf and without your knowledge. Let us show you in 5 easy steps to develop that cult of personality so that anything you put your logo on, you can mark up 150%. Did you like that? In Living Color Media understands that people love an easy set of odd numbered steps. Stanford has proven it increases effectiveness by 189%. People also love stats with odd numbers too, and they never check to see if they're true. If you're not being bold enough, we promise, let your personality shine through. And if you don't have one, we've got some suggestions. Look, it can be as simple as a unique hat or maybe even an odd beard. If you're a lady with a unique hat and a mustache, we could mix you the next DEI superstar. It's hard to believe, but the horse world has yet to even hear of Zig Ziglar. Motivational speakers are barely in the door, and the pop psychology is ripe for exploiting. You can memorize a few sentences with alliteration, and we'll make you a star. People are predisposed to prefer properly prepared propositions and postulations precluded by pretense and prepositions, posted by professionals and pushed with persistence. You see how easy that was? You have no clue what I just said, but it sounded good to you. Enunciated and even better with an accent, words make people feel good. And feeling good is what it's all about, especially if it's a word that they have heard but cannot themselves define. That's a recipe, and we can market your horsemanship program so it's in the right magazines and practically pushes prostaglandins and produces products and profits prolifically and prodigiously. You're probably too focused on helping people understand or develop skills. Emotional triggers is where the money's at, my friend. In Living Color Media and Consulting, it doesn't matter what you know. It only matters how they feel about what they think you know. All right. What do you think
What was
about
the number
that
to
one?
that again? I want to call them. I gotta
I am
know.
so proud of that P sentence with
Oh
like
my,
13. I worked a long time on
I
that
was
one. Let
like,
me
I
tell you.
was gonna ask that question. How long did you rehearse that? That was excellent. You didn't, for those maybe don't know, like in this podcast realm, that could have been done 2 or 3 or 4 times. I watched you. That was done one read over time. That was fucking impressive, man. Good
I start.
job.
This is true. I started this whole podcast just to be able to do the mock sponsors. That is
Oh
the.
my
It's like
God.
the blooper reel thing.
That
That's
was
my little release to the
amazing.
world. So
That was amazing, man. I love
thank.
that. I,
Uh,
I don't know how you didn't screw that up. Like all those P's, those were, I would have, hell, I screwed up when I said the word prepare and preparation just a few minutes ago.
all right. Well,
Good
thank you. The
job.
P's are easier for me. If it had been S's, I'd have had trouble. My
Ah, there you go.
mustache. You don't have a very long mustache or beard, but like my mustache messes my S's up. When I let it get longer, it's like the wind goes through the.
That's
It
fair.
it,
I can't.
it does
I did the
mess it up.
COVID. I did the COVID beard. If you look at some of the videos, because I repost a lot of them, you'll see like ones that I had like a beard that was like down to here or whatever. And
Yeah.
I never let the mustache go, like go that long. I can't. When I'm like eating my hair, that's where I'm like, nope, done. Gotta take that down.
Germophobia. Yeah, I get it.
Yep,
That
that
makes sense. It's
makes sense, doesn't it? Well, that was impressive. I don't think
Okay.
I can. I don't think I can match that, bud. That was good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So where to go now? Okay. I got a few places. So one, the reason I found you was your videos. And if y'all haven't looked at a picture of him or don't recognize him, he is the guy that is riding around silently, points up at the sky, and there's some words up there, and like he is a master at here's three simple things to do to accomplish this little thing, and like it's short, it's sweet, it's correct. You're not putting bullshit out there, like it's good, and boom, you just delivered tidy, nice little package, and there it is. And apparently the algorithms love it and everything. So how did that, like you were doing other things before and then
Yeah.
you popped on to that. So how did, what was the inspiration, or was it an accident, or what?
It was probably more of an accident, honestly. That was, if you look at the different social media platforms, that was, I started that when COVID kind of hit, for certain things on TikTok. I started a TikTok account. I grew the TikTok real fast, but it was really, oh my God, was it challenging? It was a lot of work for very little payoff. And so I kind of stopped for a couple of years. But the the things that always did really well were me literally looking at the camera and pointing up in the air and writing a description. So I would create videos that were educational, and then some that were trying to showcase my personality, because kind of like as you said, I want people who know that they're going to, learn something but have a good time doing so. And if you don't have a sense of humor, I have very similar saying that you can go the hell home. It ain't going to be for you. Um, and so, without understanding, that's how I tried to create the videos to be. And so I started them back up again, those videos. I reposted some of the same videos that I made years ago. And every time I repost them, or every time I post them, they do really, really well. The idea of it is, I learned this from a successful business person a while ago. It says, stop trying to hide all of your information, right? Don't make it where they can't find it, but make it in such a way that without your help, they can't apply it. And I thought that was really interesting to me, because I thought all this time I've been trying to, like, give out little tips and stuff like, hey, if you want to be better, sign up for this, whatever, right? Um, but but now it's, go ahead and give them the information, because the chances that they have to be able to, the people who can truly apply it correctly, they weren't going to come to you anyway. But the people who understand it but struggle applying it, they still need your help. And then you can re explain it in a way that makes sense to them. And so that's what my whole goal has kind of become. Is I don't not give away information anymore. I'll give you everything. It's problem is, good luck trying to organize it in a way that for yourself to like learn how every step of the way goes. I think my favorite thing is when I post something on there, that every time I do it, they're usually about a minute or under, and they're only tips for something very specific. Um, doesn't mean that's how you do it every single time. It just means they're tips to get better at it. My favorite things are when people commented on it, like, well, that doesn't, like, here's one that gets the most hate comments on it at the same time, and I love it every time I post it. It just entertains the shit out of me. Is people, I'm posting in a Western saddle, and I explain how, better ways to help you, or I give you tips on how to have a better post. And people are like, well, that doesn't help me. I'm riding a gaited horse. Why the fuck are you commenting? Like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, of course it doesn't help you with a gaited horse. You don't goddamn post unless you're trotting. Anyway, or you get some, that doesn't help me canter. Duh. And so, and my favorite ones on there are the people who say, you're not supposed to post in a Western saddle. You're supposed to only post in an English saddle. That's what they did. That's what John Wayne did, was only sat in a Western saddle. I said, yeah. My comments to them is, they only gave penicillin as medicine long ago, too. Like, we have scientifically improved our lives. We can be a little smarter. And so, anyway, you ask about pet peeves, those are one of my favorites. If you ever look at my most viral video, and literally every time I post it, it gets a 500,000 views to 1 million over and over again, is the posting one. But if you're looking for a good time, go onto the comments. Go and look at the comments and see how many people have fighting arguments over English versus Western. And it's like, if somebody's listening to this podcast now and they're one of those ones who's commented, I want you to know you need to open your mind a little bit. Maybe read a book. If you hate me now because of it, I don't give a fuck.
I get this is one of this popped its head up for me a lot lately, but it's about inside hand crossing the neck.
Yeah,
I do that all the time because I'm riding colts and problem horses, and you got to
yeah,
exaggerate things
sure,
sometimes, and you get them going
yeah,
the right way, and now we can get more subtle with it. And like the people that drives crazy, I think of like the tradition is peer pressure from dead people. Like if it really bothers you that some rule got violated here, like get a life. I mean,
yeah,
for crying out loud, man. Whew. I'm
yeah,
glad that's all you have to worry about. But now the horse moves his fucking shoulder to the right. That was the thing I was worried about. So I'm happy.
yeah.
I don't care if you're not.
That's you're so right about it. And what's so interesting about that, and even that specifically, is the amount of times I've learned different ways to be able to help with that. And Portugal actually helped me learn a different way in which I think is better. But it doesn't negate the fact that there are tools in our toolbox that are a necessity in certain circumstances. Now, so you say that shit 10 times fast. Uh, but to your point, bringing up and over like this is maybe something in which we would profess that you shouldn't, as an overall, do. But then at the same time, there's fucking times where these horses, you got to do some shit to make it happen. And I'm generalizing it to your example, but that's kind of what I mean. Is you use certain tools in certain circumstances, um, and they need to be viewed as such. Here is one tool that you could use in one circumstance. Anyway,
Yep.
you're getting me on my pet peeves too.
I think the little bourbon trip was definitely the right decision in the middle of this podcast here for sure.
I feel like if you go back on this and you're editing this and you think maybe we should have eliminated the bourbon.
There's no way I'm going to have that thought. I can tell you right now that's not going to happen. So um, now I happen to have a couple of versus statements, and this seems like the time when we got to get the
Perfect.
verses. So a lot of your videos that I've seen are kind of equitation related, I guess. They're
Yep.
about like posting or something. And you mentioned about the saddle that you had earlier. So I come from a cutting horse background, and we
Mm-hmm.
are typically riding more of a flat seat saddle.
Yep.
And I have to say, I have not been able to get out of that. I don't like riding a saddle with a pocket. So, what are your kind of thoughts? And I'll give you this too. So, my actual very first riding job was riding racehorses, which again is a flat seat. It is an English saddle, but
Really?
there's not much there at all. So, yep, you wouldn't think that
Oh,
looking at
that's
me now, but yeah.
no, that's so I'm that puts you up in my book. That puts you
Okay,
much higher in my book
all right,
because
a little
so
redemption.
many
That's good to know.
people can't, like, they can't do it. Like they if the horse is easier or deadheaded or lazy or whatever, they're great with. But the high energy horses, like, they don't understand how to calm them down. They don't know how to understand to manage their emotions, their nervous system, and so having that experience, that sets you above so many people. That's so cool. Good on you, man.
Well, thank you. So, what would be your thoughts on like a flat seat saddle versus a pocket? Do you have strong feelings, or again, different tools for different
Different tools for
applications?
different
Or
meaning for yep, different tools for different applications, right? So I look at, overall, the ability for you to sit in a centered seat is the generalized riding. But that doesn't mean that when a horse is cutting, that you don't have a certain sit down difference, right? When your horse is coming to a sliding stop, you don't put yourself in a position in which you can't, like, staying centered will probably have the ability for you to come flying ass over tea kettle on them, right?
Mhm.
So again, I go back to tools in your toolbox. There are different things for different reasons. And so when you come to a place that, like if you're just trotting up to the cow, centered riding is important. When you're then coming to the cow, sitting deeper, and preparing for that motion, well, that has its place. Does that make sense? There's no one set way. And this is the thing that drives me insane is I'm not here to market shit from that perspective. There's no one set way. A good horseman has the ability to fluctuate. Haha, coming back to that full circle. Coming back to fluctuate from one to another. You should be able to go from riding a racehorse to riding a reiner in no time flat. That's what a good horseman has the ability to do.
Complete set of skills. So
Yeah.
I'll confess here, and I don't call myself a natural horsemanship guy. I don't use that term in any way,
That's
shape, or
fine.
form.
Nor do I. So good on
Yeah,
you.
there's plenty of that has, it's kind of, I like the original concept, but it has definitely morphed into the clinician I just made fun
Yep.
of with the mock sponsor and all that. But um so like the Wade saddle, that's all the fashion, all the clinicians or the cool kids have the Wade saddle, and I just can't do it. I have never sat in one. I need to be able to waller around my saddle. I want to sit way up here in this front corner and go back to this back corner and do what the hell I need to do, and that
Yeah.
damn thing just keeping me in this little spot right here, and they want it to be 14 inches, and like I just can't do it, man.
Yeah.
Which I have no problem with. I can admit it. It's not I'm not trying to be what I'm not, but so yeah, I was just
No,
curious if you had.
I thought it was a great question, honestly.
So I'll throw another verses at you. You're working with people a lot. You're working with people on equitation sort of stuff. You're working with people on horsemanship kind of stuff, and on maybe humanship kind of stuff, monitoring themselves, their fear, and all that. So where do you see yourself in that triangle or pentagon or whatever the hell sort of convergence of these different, where do you see yourself more in this direction, more in that direction? You're trying to balance it all out. What's your deal
Here's
there?
where yeah, that's a good question. I hope what I'm about to answers that question, and feel free if it doesn't to be like, hey, that doesn't exactly answer it. But years ago, my whole focus was my program, right? And when I was getting into it, that's what, for marketing perspectives, because that's one of the things I was looking at it, is we're like, okay, we have a groundwork program, we have a riding program, this is what we do, right? And so I would go around and let's just use clinics, for example. I go around teaching people clinics and would have this, okay, let's go through the groundwork program, everybody does the same damn thing. Let's go to the riding, everybody does the same damn thing. And the problem I was finding was exactly kind of as I said earlier, was people were like, I did the exact thing that you told me to do and it still didn't work. And then you have the people who, when you then take the horse over and do the exact same thing, the horse responds differently. Well, what's the common denominator, right? It's the person. And so now, with all of that, what I found is super fucking interesting that you've got me cursing up like a sailor. I don't actually curse this much normally, so I don't know
I
if
have
this is
that
going to put
effect
me.
on people. I'm the bad influence friend. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
well, let me put it this way. I actually don't professionally curse this much normally, I should say. At home, I do, but you asked for a more off the cuff style, and I'm loving that, by the way.
I'm not complaining one bit. Yep.
So, so um, one of the things that now I forgot where it's going, but the thing that I find the most that I have turned into is now basically teaching people just how to ride and how to communicate effectively. What I find, oh, this was a point that I find the most interesting, is let me ask you this question. How many people or how many horse trainers are in this world in total?
I don't know. 80,000.
Yeah, a lot, right? Would you agree that pretty much 80,000 of them have their own style of how they train a horse?
Yeah.
Now, would you also agree that the overall goal, now I'm not talking about how high level or low level, I'm just saying the overall goal is for the horse to be able to become a competent riding horse overall. Would you agree?
Yeah. Sure.
And for the most part, negating bad horsemanship, any of that stuff, I'm not talking about that. For the most part, they can do it. but they all have a different approach to getting the same goddamn result. You have a program, I have a program, we all have a program, and we all look for the same result, but we all go about it differently. So then you start to think, well, what's the common denominator in the fact that we are accomplishing the exact same thing, right, but doing it differently? Well, then the common denominator is the intelligence of a horse, right? And so we have then the intelligence of a horse who can understand that even though you're asking differently, something is being they understand where to get from there, what to get from that. And so what I found now is anymore, it doesn't matter the program. It matters how you deliver that program. It comes back to that, how you communicate shit. And so that's, to me now, when I go and teach clinics, I don't teach you how, like, I'll give you advice, I'll give you advice that is in the direction you might need. But a lot of times, if you're struggling for something specific, I just give you one little tweak to try and change that can change the entire outcome. And that's been the most powerful thing to me, is I can on day one fix most people's problems, and I'm touting, and I'm making myself sound cocky, and I don't like it, so I'm feeling awkward about that. But on day one, I can be able to read what needs to change and the minute things that needs to change, help them change it to at day two, they said, I've literally learned everything I came here to learn. And that's not saying that I'm some guru, because I'm not professing to be one. But what I'm trying to say is anymore, the clinics that I go to and teach are more about being able to find where you're, break down the communication, where you're making mistakes, and how to course correct to get to a place that you're actually communicating effectively, so that way your horse is doing what it is you're looking for them to do.
I like it. I'm going to take this opportunity to be mean to the people that are trying to be mean to me about crossing the neck with the rein. So this is the way I think about that. The common denominator, we think a lot alike, and that should scare the hell out of you, Scott. But let's say that I took 6 horses and they're all saddled up. They're safe. You don't have to worry about them at all. They're tied right there. And you're going to go take a ride, do whatever you want on all 6. I have crossed the neck with my inside hand on 3 of them. And then I want you to tell me after you've ridden them for a while which 3 those are. Like, okay. Of course, that's a preposterous that nobody could tell. And so if you can't tell, does it make a fucking difference, right? What's the point of being so stupid about these kinds of things? Like, does it actually make a difference? And if you can't tell, shut up, right? Like, it wasn't the thing that was actually, yeah.
We as a culture could learn from the word shut up.
Right? Not enough people get punched in the mouth anymore. Like,
yeah.
It's a different podcast, but
that's. I was like, we're going down a different route here, bud.
Okay, so now I feel like anger and rage, that's probably something we should get into.
I feel like we fed off each other a little bit there.
A little bit. So anger and energy. I don't know how to say this without talking about myself a little bit to present this, but I've used this example many, many times through the years, because both of us, we both had to learn to temper our anger and to reel those vibes in.
Yeah.
As a generalized statement, most women have the opposite problem. They need to learn how to get bigger at times and all. And so this is the example.
You were about to cancel my podcast because I gender specified things earlier. And listen to you now.
Oh, so this is the example I've always used with women. Like, let's say you and your husband, you're out at nice restaurant, white tablecloth, it's your anniversary. You get up to go to the bathroom, you come back, and his high school girlfriend is sitting in your chair at the table. She's got her hand on his forearm. She's laughing at his jokes, and you know he's not that funny. And all of a sudden, the whole restaurant feels you, like that vibe you were talking about when you come in the front door. You like the whole restaurant with the hair. Every time I tell the story, it's happening right now. The hair on the back of my neck is going up, and so like you have the ability to tap into that and to get bigger and all. You just have to channel it correctly. And a lot of women they kind of got to learn that. They got to learn to get a little bigger, and in those moments of fluctuation to nip this shit in the bud and not let it go on and on and on and on and on before you finally do a little something about it. Okay, so with that
interesting metaphor that you put,
gender argument, throw in your lap
Yeah,
and
go
go.
for it. No, that's such an interesting, because I have my own metaphor for those things, and so I call it the big I word. You have the big F word, fluctuation, the big I word that people lack in general with horses, and that's intention. Okay, so what you're speaking of is exactly that, intention, a lack thereof. And so intention is simply put, say what you mean what you say, right? And so, um, I put I don't do it from the date perspective. I usually ask if they have children. This usually helps. But if you do deal with a younger kid and you're trying to teach them to deal with that, it helps if they have siblings. Like, do you ever get angry at them? Right? Do you ever get angry at them? Let me ask you. This is from the children or from the adult to having a child perspective. Have you ever asked your child to clean their room? And of course they say yes, and then do they do it on the first damn time you ask them? No. When is it usually that they finally clean the room? When you get angry, right? That's usually what their answer is. When I get angry. Yes. So here's my question: Is you just learned intention in a systematic way that says I ask politely, I ask again, and then I get angry. Now, that is very overgeneralized, and I do want to put that out there. That is very overgeneralized as the way to communicate with a horse. So I do want to say that it doesn't always go from that perspective, but that is the way in which I try and tell people when I'm trying to bring up their things, their emotions, their energy level. And I usually say, here's what I want you to do. I want you to become, in this moment, just to learn it, I want you to have your innermost craziest self come out. And I don't even care if you're laughing while you do it. I just want so much energy that you're this for a moment just to learn what intention is. And then you can bring it back down as soon as you notice the difference of what your horse does. And whether your horse does the right answer or not, that's beside the point. That's not even what we're talking about. Let's say you're trying to yield the hindquarters and the horse won't move, so you're trying to get them to have higher intention to get them to yield. Um, I don't even care if the horse backs up. That's a response. That was a response to your intention. Just because it was wrong, or by wrong, it was not the response you wanted, that doesn't mean anything. The horse listened to your intention, and that's what you're going after. I love the date one though. Um, I've never done it from that perspective. I like that.
Well, I also, so what you were just talking about with the kids, this is a routine thing. If someone's been to a clinic, they'll know. But I make everybody give their horse a middle name because that's when the kid cleans their room. When the
Yeah,
middle name comes out, mom's
yeah.
serious. Shit's
Oh,
about to
I
get
love it.
real. So
I might
that's
steal that one. That's a very
absolutely,
good one.
that's a
That's a
question.
very good
If
one.
what's your horse's middle name? Because you're going to have to come up with a middle name. And if you don't have one, I'm going to give him a weird one. So,
And
yeah,
I want to add to that point something that, whether you do this or not, or whether you want to take this works every time. When you're trying to do this, is body follows voice, voice follows body. Um, if you get them to talk, as you are saying with the middle name, for example, you get them to talk and you get them to raise their energy through the voice, their body will follow that same energy. Like you can't be angry and like yelling angry and be relaxed at the same time. You sorry son of a bitch. Like that's not how that works, right? You sorry, and your whole demeanor and energy changes. Voice follows body, body follows voice. And so I get people to talk to them all the time, but as a tool, not as a, like I said, don't be that crazy lady that literally talks in sentences to their horse in paragraph form. I always try to tell people 1 to 3 words. 1 to 3 words as to what it is that you're looking for, because your body will follow what you're saying, not only energy wise, but when it comes to riding, turn left. My left hand automatically comes up, right? So when you're trying to get your horse to do something, to quiet the mind, because you know as much as I do, how many riders do you deal with that are overthinkers? Pretty much fucking all of them, right? All they do is overthink everything, right? But to a downfall. How do you quiet the mind? Tell them to say 1 to 3 words. Sorry, 1 to 3 words is what it is that they're wanting to do in that moment. Their body will do it. There is no other thought in their brain.
I like it. See,
Works.
characteristic, just like your videos. You're taking this big concept and we just shrink it down to the bare bones of what we need and simplify it. And boom, that's a gift, man. You really have that.
I
Uh,
appreciate. Oh, look, 2 compliments. I'm feeling we should end it now.
oh, I don't have a whole lot more, and I'm watching the clock. We're about where
Oh,
you were saying.
okay.
So
Yep.
let me ask you this. So you had mentioned earlier about the why, and I want to be a little controversial on this one. So we probably have both worked with a lot of horses that you'll never know the why, or you'll never know the history. The thing you want to know, that like this horse comes out of a rescue, and it's a blank page from 8 and prior, and we just have what we have, and um, so I understand the human desire to learn why or what's the history or whatever. But practically speaking, I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. Like I'm going to take this horse and he's responding this way, and I'm going to, whether I knew the history, whether I had a reason, whether whatever, I probably am working in pretty much the same way. And that's a hard thing for people to let go of, the looking for the why. But it really, in a lot of cases, I don't know that it makes any difference. So what do you think?
I absolutely love this question. It's fantastic, and feel free push back on me if you disagree on something. This is great. Um, so this this is where you have the why that people want to find out to use as an excuse,
Mhm.
or you find the why as to why the horse is doing it as to how to help them. So my thing is understanding the why to make it faster to be able to help them. Because if you understand why they're doing something, you can then create a tool to help them faster overcome whatever it is that's bothering them. Okay, so I want to first put that part out there. Now, I have an entire seminar that's way too long of it, like to talk about. Like it's an hour and a half seminar at minimum that goes over these 4 reasons why a horse does what they do. And this is what I've been able to break it down. Okay, 4 reasons. And I'll give you the very oversimplified, not hour and a half version. Um, one factor, human. Okay, now when you have the human, you have both the physical and the mental side of things. Now, we already kind of talked a little bit about that earlier, so I'm not going to go into grave detail about it. But how they present themselves with their horse is one factor as to why a horse could be responding the way that they respond in that exact moment. Sure, horses have history as part of things, which brings us to the next aspect or next factor, which is the horse. Horse has both physical and mental too. The physical can be from the perspective of lameness issues like injuries or they're not feeling well, etc., which is far greater than what we give a lot of value to. Most of the time we deem things behavioral, and they're really not. A lot of times it is something physical going on with them. Um, So you have physical, but also from that physical, not just like how they're feeling, but things such as balance. Balance and stability, we don't give them enough understanding that they're struggling with their balance. And I'll use this as the example. Horses that will speed up, and I'll just say like at a trot or a canter, will speed up and or break. So you're at a trot and they speed up, or you're at a trot and they break back down to a walk. And you're like, God damn it, why did this horse do it? It's just running, it was just going faster, and then all of a sudden it just broke on me. And balance would be the reason, could be, not would be, could be the reason as to why. For example, have you ever tried running downhill and lean forward while you do so? When you're running downhill and leaning forward, you either speed the hell up, or in order not to fall over, you stop. You get yourself back upright and stop. So you have that physical, and again, there's a lot more detail going into minimalistic here, and you have mental, right? And there's so many different emotions that a horse can carry, and you once you understand those emotions, deal with those emotions, put them in a calm, relaxed state of mind, in a willing state of mind. Now your horse is ready to learn. If you go, people say this like there was no deer on the trail, and I'm going to give an example. There was no deer on the trail, but my horse spooked as if it was one. Well, then you start asking questions. Okay, well, how was your horse acting before then? Well, it's fine. The horse was a little up. We were moving and grooving. It was fine, but the horse was just a little bit up. The up is part of the reason. The up is them searching. The up is them looking for the thing to spook in. And I, again, remind myself and you overgeneralizing, but more to my point is there is usually some element of reason there. Did we see it beforehand? And a lot of times that's where hindsight comes in. Hindsight can be more 2020 than in the moment of. So then you have that. And then the next one is connection and dynamics. Okay. So the dynamics can be so much from, you've had two horses in a herd, you add a third one to the herd. And all of a sudden the dynamics between the whole herd is different, right? You've been with enough horses, you know how that works. Dynamics are also part of it with the horse and human relationship, right? Dynamics are something where, you've had it. I'll use your relationship concept. You have your relationships that maybe you're not. Did you ever date someone before your wife? Smart answer is no, but real answer is probably, right? Um, most of the time, most people dated somebody beforehand. Now, I'm not talking about any emotional abuse or any abusive type of style relationships when I say this, but one could possibly say that one partner isn't a bad person, the other partner isn't a bad person, but they are not good together, right? And so that happens with the horse and human world too. And in order for you to solve for even these dynamic issues, what you have to do is the horse can't change to you. You have to be the one to change to them. And if you don't make that understanding and connection that you have to be the one to make change, you're never going to be able to fix that dynamic problem. And the last one is environmental. Environmental can be a multitude of things. The wind, the time of day, the car driving. Somebody said this in in one of my seminars. They're like, is environmental one where you're driving near or you're riding near a road and a car drives by and a mattress flies out at you? Yep, that would be environmental. I said, I have never had that shit happen to me. But yes, why did your horse spook in that moment? A mattress came flying at its face. That's no, that doesn't take a
Yeah.
genius to figure that out.
I have not
Anyway,
prepared one for that in the round pen before, for sure. Yep.
yeah. And so I guess that's so to all of what I'm saying is if you condition the horse in understanding not just about desensitizing or understanding like that specific situation, your focus should always be on putting the horse, teaching them how to deal with their own nervous system, how to calm themselves in a situation that is scary. Now, we do that through desensitizing, yes, but at the same time, we should always be doing that through even just understanding when energy goes up, how to bring energy back down. Because a lot of times, even our desensitizing concepts are flawed. And we'll desensitize them to things in while standing still and say, overcome this while standing still. But we never, not never, I shouldn't say, we don't always desensitize to how to deal with your own emotions just when they get higher. For example, when a horse is cantering and then they start to lose, like their balance gets out of control, they start to lose themselves mentally. And now all of a sudden, now you're dealing with both balance and mental issues. So you have to calm the mind down to start on the balance, or vice versa, depending upon the situation. I'm sorry for that very long-winded thing, but that's so interesting to me. But that's where the why comes in. Is if I understand in that moment why a horse is doing that, their history doesn't always matter. They are dealing with a moment now that you have to deal with. And yes, their history could be a part of it, but it really doesn't play as big of a role into it as what's happening in the moment. If a horse has been abused by a whip and they see a whip coming, yes, sure, that could be a reason. Far too often is that the excuse everyone gives, but and is not factually always true. But if we recognize that the whip actually is a stimulus to our energy that they don't understand how to deal with high energy, take the whip away, teach them how to come down, I can pretty much guarantee you the next time you add the whip to them, they won't respond in a negative way, or as negative, I should say. There you go. Welcome to my TED Talk. Maybe
I
this is
like it.
why I'm not maybe this is why I did the videos where it's just I shut the hell up and I just point to the sky for 3 steps because I just keep going.
Oh, no, it's good. It's a stimulating thing. I'm taking a lot of notes, and I apologize to anybody that is an ADHD the way we're bouncing around, but it makes sense to me. Um, so I'm going to take you back to fluctuating.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people are what I would call monotone riders. So like everything they do is a 4, and they don't know how to ask at a 1, and they also don't know how to give a 7. And so that's what I think of in that concept, is that maybe you or I could go to a 7 if need be. We could go back to a 1, and a lot of people they don't know what the 1 is either. So do you find that to be true in the intensity or intention kind of aspect of it? And
100%. Let me ask you, what is it you do to try to get people to, like, what is it? Well, give me an explanation as to what you do to try to tell people to to get the fluctuation you're desiring.
it depends on the person. Like I'm more known for bits, so a lot of times I will actually let them hold an end of the bridle rein, and then I will demonstrate, here, this is what a 1 feels like, and then this is what a 7 feels like. And by the way, this is a half. We don't even have to be a 1. We can always be, bringing that down. So it could be tactile like that. It could be descriptive. I would say the middle name thing, kind of, that's how we might get you to a 7, and so it just depends on the situation and the person, and how we
One
would be going about it.
one piece of like, I don't want to call it advice. I'm not trying to give you
Yep.
necessarily advice type of thing. That's not what I'm. But one thing that I found that works well for me is, number one, when you find someone who deals with the intention problem as you're speaking of, because you're right on the money with that. That's a big problem. Um, One of the things that I find that helps with it is calling it out from exactly the way that you just did, quantifying it, but not just calling it out. And I appreciate the helping them understand what these things are. But what if you ask them right from the very beginning to quantify everything and say, show me what a 4 looks like? Whatever it is you're asking, right? Doesn't matter. Show me now what a 5 in your mind would look like. And increase that to whatever, or decrease that. And say, and quantify everything that you do when you're talking about intention. And say, I want you to show me. I don't even care if the thing is right. And that's part of it that's really important. Is don't even, like, I don't give a shit if the horse does it right or wrong. When you're trying to help deal with someone's intention specifically, your focus should be on, and again, I know that almost sounds like I'm coming at you, and I'm not trying to, but your
No.
focus should be on teaching them to create that set intention that you just works, that you're working on. So get them to understand it. And if you do it from a perspective that says, just show me what you think it would look like. And maybe they're wrong. And like, that's what you think a 7 looks like? That's interesting. Show me what the hell a 10 would look like if you think that's a 7, right? And then usually that's where it'll break down their defenses a little bit. And if they say, well, I don't want to give a 10, my horse isn't being bad. Well, yeah, but your 7 is like that, right? So just do me a favor, try one time, show me a 10. You will get very few people that will come back and be like, well, I don't want to do a 10 every time. No shit, I don't want you to either. But sometimes you need a 10 in order to start it, because watch this now. You just accomplished it. Show me a 6, right? And a 6 does exactly that. That's part of breaking down to them, where it's something simplistic, and it brings it back into their own realm of understanding. You don't have to tell them they're right or wrong. The horse does it, and you can just ask them, hey, show me something. See what happens. No right or wrong. I don't really give a shit. Just, I want to see if we can make that happen. And it works most of the time.
Yeah.
There are a few pushbacks.
I like it. It's like crossing the neck with the rein, right? Maybe that's a 10, but
Yeah.
if I do that a few times, now a 5 works, right? But if you didn't
Yep.
ever do the 10, yeah.
Yep.
So again, this is bouncing around, but I kind of consider myself a behaviorist too, or at least my approach with things is more
Yeah.
from that direction. And I don't know what your educational background might be in that regard, or it sounds like you've read a lot on the science and things like that. This would just be one little thing that you said earlier, and it actually is a little bit pet peeves, probably too much of a 10, and I mean more of a 5 here, but I'm I'm glad that the horse world is learning more about it, becoming more aware of the physical side of things.
Mm.
That being said, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I kind of see some of the physical people now touting it like I'm going to all caps that word because that's the important part of this, that every behavioral problem has a physical component. And I think that's a ridiculous statement. Like fear, for instance, is something I deal with in horses a lot. And they're not running off with you because their right hind is hurting. That's a different, this is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
a, so I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's one of those things so you're nodding. So I'll throw that at you now. What do you think?
No, well, I'll first put it this way. One of the hardest things is connecting. This was when I was really into first learning all these different things, connecting what you learn in theory to practical, right? When you're out there actually training the horse and you've just learned in theory, I should be able to do this, this, and this, and then when you're in practical, you're like, that shit didn't work, right? And kind of what you're saying, you're talking about the extremists essentially, and this is where it's challenging because our world is designed in that exact manner, extremists. And I don't talk about government things, but I'm going to use it from the example. This is why you have Republicans and you have Democrats. They see the world, the same exact world, in two different viewpoints. Um, and so I'm not touting which one's right or which one's wrong, but what I am saying is the problem with extremists is that's only my way or the highway. It's my understanding or no way at all. So there needs to be a balance. And this is something that I tout as myself to be, this is where I am. I'm in the middle. I I I see this point, I see this point. There needs to be a balance in order to fix it. And so when it comes to the extremes, your horse is in your hands to figure out what the hell is wrong with them. Like no doubt, right? Physically, emotionally, it's in your hands. And the problem is, even to today's world, you have vets, and I know if there's any vets listening here, they might crucify me here. Vets are good at a lot, but not always great at one. And when you're dealing with a horse, the best way that I've learned this thus far is that a horse is like an onion. You got to peel away each layer to understand it. And that can be a bit of a struggle because that means you as a rider have to educate yourself in understanding what potentially could be going wrong. The problem is if you then drown yourself in all of this, it now becomes your identity. And that's where you get exactly what you're talking about. Is it becomes your identity that, you know, my horse is, you know, my horse has got all these injuries and you're telling me that's why he bites me all the time, you know, and you're telling me that's why he runs me over at the gate because, you know, he's footsore. Um, and maybe there could be trueness to that. Somebody listening to be like, well, yeah, the horse, you know, stepped on a rock and tripped and blew me over. Yes, okay, fine. You got the one circumstance that proves me wrong, but you get my point.
Mhm.
Um, and so you have to recognize that there is always a balance in life. And I think that's what we miss. And we structurally, as humans, need to be better at that. And that's part of my journey is to try to help people understand that life is like it's all how you view it. It's perception is the name of the game. I view one thing one way, you view it a whole different way. That doesn't mean you're right or I'm wrong, or whatever, right? It just means that's how we view things.
See, this is where I think like the jokes, the sarcasm, the filter there, that's so important because I life is too short to deal with a bunch of people that don't have critical thinking skills.
Mm,
If you're that naive and gullible and like I can't I, that's not a day I want to get up and go face if I had to deal with
yeah,
the masses of sheep. You know what I mean? I want some interesting people that can think and that we can have. So hopefully that's what we're cultivating here, and that also means that this is not right for everyone, and
yeah,
that's okay too.
that's
That's
okay.
perfectly fine. So let me ask you this: a lot of the things that you have talked about, particularly the energy stuff, fluctuation, kind of reading the horse and catering to what that one may need mentally or physically today. I would put all of that under the hat of a word that I still shamelessly use, leadership. And I don't know how you feel about that word. It's kind of a bad word for some people now, but go ahead.
I'm actually. It's interesting you say shamelessly, because I don't. I'll tell you the word I hate in this industry, and that's fucking respect. Because respect has taken so far of a turn between leadership and dictatorship. People are like, my horse didn't do what I wanted him to do. He doesn't fucking respect me. What the fuck? Are you out of your mind? Because he didn't understand something? That's like saying, hey, when you were a kid and I said, what's 2 plus 2? And you said, I think it's 5. You don't fucking respect me because you got the answer wrong. Are you out of your. What? Come on. I hate that word. I hate the word respect. Now, leadership I can get behind. And so some people have a thing against it. Whatever. They have their own problems. So you can shamelessly use it. You cannot believe it. I don't really care. I love the word leadership, but I think how you understand the word leadership is important. Leadership is a teacher, is a someone who guides you in the right direction, who helps you when you get lost. It is not someone who dictates to you. And I think that is that big difference. Again, leadership versus dictatorship. There is a fine goddamn line between leadership and dictatorship. Um, and I think we tote that line, including myself. There are times where, I'll be honest, and I like using this saying, frustration begins where knowledge ends. It's an old saying. I didn't make it up. Um, and I believe in that saying through and through because I find myself, even to today's standards, like as much as I know, I'll get frustrated at a situation. My tools in my toolbox didn't work, or whatnot, um, and I'll be honest, there are times where I have to use an element of dictatorship to get to where I want, and then I back off and call it leadership. And I do get frustrated with myself because I know I'm being a hypocrite when I say those things. And I'll be honest, when I'm like, if I'm in front of people and I use it and I tell people, I'm being a hypocrite. I forced that to happen. I made it happen. I wasn't a leader there. That's dictatorship. But I'll be honest, I didn't have another way in that moment to be able to overcome it. I did get to here, and we're here now. Great, good on that. But I did have to use a dictatorship way in order to make it happen.
I think that's the difference between hindsight and foresight.
Yeah.
Some training methods are lower resolution than others, but sometimes that's the only thing you're left with. Like if I have to just
Mm.
drag you across this and then you see that it was okay and we kind of do solve the problem, that was kind of a low resolution training method, but sometimes that's what I had at my disposal and it worked, and we're okay. It's where judgment comes into play, right? But it's still always kind of on the
Could there
table.
be a different way that you could have gone about it? Hindsight could say yes, but what you did worked. It may not work on all of them, but it did in this moment. And that too, by the way, is where I think people get lost in that learning aspect. Is they say this worked this time, so it's going to work on all of them. And that I feel is where we as a culture need to be a little bit better in understanding that worked that time. That is a tool, but that should may not be the first step you go to.
So you've said this many times, and I like it again. We're kind of on the same page with a lot of this stuff here, but I have always looked at this as kind of the putting tools in the toolbox thing. What I find hard to understand is that we have some trends in the business now, the industry, of sort of self-appointed virtue of people that will assign morality to tools. And so you can only be ethical or moral when you're working a horse if you use these particular tools, but these other tools. So, like positive reinforcement, you'll get this in that group where, you're doing it with negative reinforcement is an unethical way. We've got an aversive, and now we've got social license to operate, and kind of all of these sort of things. And I don't want to drag you into like a political kind of a discussion or a societal one,
Yeah.
but Um, do you run across that very much, or how do you feel about that when people are kind of in denial of here's a valid tool, but for my own particular personal reasons, I only use a hammer, and I'm only going to build the kind of house I can build with a hammer, but a saw is immoral, whatever the hell. That's how I see it. But I'm a pretty logical, rational person, and other people have different feelings about that. So,
Yeah.
what are yours?
I first off love learning new tools that work for different people. Comes back to what I say, like there's so many different ways to be able to train a horse. And that tool works for them, great. The key question isn't about is that tool useful now? The question is, will that work for my personality style? Will that work for how I deliver that message? And when we talk about our positive, and I'm certain by this statement. If I've only said one state, if I would say if there's any one statement that would be something where people attack me from, this would probably be it. When you think about our positive, I was against our positive long ago. I have switched to understanding it more and use it much more than I used to, but I come back to that balance standpoint. And that life is a balance. Sometimes it needs one aspect, sometimes it needs another. Um, but I can argue a point that your sheer presence around a horse is negative. So when we think about no pressure style teaching, your presence is pressure. You've just now made it sound as if you've balanced that out because you're doing it in a less pressure style way of understanding. And so there is still pressure. And pressure can even be when you're using a treat for a response. To gain a response is the pressure for them to figure it out in order to get said retreat or said treat is a style of pressure. And one can argue that point against me. That's totally fine. That's usually where the controversy comes in. But what I say is more important is you need to find what works best for your personality style, because no matter what, remember the horse is smarter than we give them credit for, and they can learn off of whatever it is as long as you have clear, effective communication that has the ability to have intention correctly, have a balance between low and high. That's a correct style for that specific horse. The horse tells you whether you're doing the shit right or not.
Okay, I want to be respectful of your time here, and we've already gone a little past where I intended to. So I'm gonna just wrap this up with one question for you. If there is one thing that we as the horse industry tend to misread or misunderstand about horses that we do a whole lot better to understand better, or to recognize, what do you think that one thing would be?
The horse is paying more attention to you than you realize.
That's a good that's a very good. I'm a little jealous of that answer. That's a very good answer. Yeah,
That's funny.
very true. All right. And succinct. You have a gift, man. You have a gift.
Thank you, buddy. This was fun. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Well, I did too. Again, I hadn't met you before. A lot of the people that I interview, I've actually met somewhere, and I really hope we do wind up at an event or something down the road,
I hope so
and
too.
uh, and get to chat in person and all. But I have enjoyed this, and like minds, I understand how we're both friends with Patrick and all.
Which that makes us question our own.
As it should, yeah, very much.
I hope he listens to this shit.
I, I don't know if he does. I'll send him a text or something. Um, and I meant to talk with you about rehab and thoroughbreds, and there's a lot more stuff. We probably just in maybe a year or something we need to do this again, and then we can get
I'm
into
all for it.
round two of it.
This was one of my favorite podcasts that I've been interviewed for. That's for darn sure. So I really appreciate it.
Well, good. I've enjoyed it. So I'll give you the last word if there's anything you want to wrap up with or some offering. I know you've got quite a few offerings and programs. So if you want to give us a little rundown of that real quick or something.
You know what? I'm not even going to give you a sales pitch. What I am going to give you, if anyone is in need of any help and you feel in which the things in which I spoke about reach home to you, I'm not hard to find. You look Advantage Horsemanship up, you look Scott Purdum up, you're going to find me on socials, you're going to find my website. I'm here to help, but I want to help those who want the help. So if you've listened to this the 3-hour long podcast to this point and you're interested in finding out more about me, I'm not hard to find and I am here to help. And that's all I really want to do.
Unless you have a cold, keep your ass home if you have any germs or anything like that.
Yep,
Or
keep your ass home.
virtual.
When you're feeling better, call me.
That would be a hell of a t-shirt right there.
Oh my
Advantage
God.
Horsemanship, and on the back, when you're feeling better, call me. I mean, right? Come on.
I love that. Time to sign off. That was perfect. Great ending.
We'll see you next week for another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I've been your host, Daniel Dolphin.